Hey, y'all. Hey. Why is StreamYards acting up on a Sunday? Does it not know better? What is going on? Hello, everyone. How are you? Hope you had a good weekend. Let me make sure this is turned down. Okay. Sorry, Dorothy. It was just buffering. It was like trying to let me backstage. It was like, nah, not today. Not so much. Not so much. Hey, Dorothy, Ragin, and Milo, Kathleen, Kind Heart, Gubby, Too Legit, Happy Sunday, Granny E, Butterflies and Camo, that high guy. I'm not sure what the split is, that high guy. I thought it was 35%, but I'm not sure. Kathleen. Let me see. I forgot who all I just said. I forgot. Hey, Dark Eyed. What's up? What's up? What's up? I'm stuck on top chat again. I don't know. It's YouTube. It's YouTube. Hey, Paddles. Hi, Linda. Let me turn this microphone down a little bit. Damn. I feel like I'm yelling at myself. Hey, Burke. Hi, Robin. How is everyone? Burke's little cute dog in his bat costume. Wasn't that cute, y'all? He escaped from the attic. The cutest little bat I ever seen. StreamYards is giving everyone trouble. They need to get their act together, right? Especially when they just started charging more. They took the price up. I know you didn't. Don't be over here malfunctioning and raising your price. No. We're not playing that. Hey, Mama Goose. Let me see. Have I missed anyone? If I missed anyone, I'm sorry. Trying to get to the bottom. Hey, little Nikki. And I think I'm almost there. Lori Lynn, how are you? Hi, Susan. Mimi. Purple Shield. Hey, Nina Bina. Hey, girl. Happy Sunday. Hi, MC2. Hi, Sicilian. Sunshine and Rain. Sugar. Miss Fred. How are you? Damn it, Donna. Lexi. These are the days. Nana Terry. Breaking the silence. Hope everyone had a good weekend. Good to see everyone. Hi, Lisa. Hello, hello. Oh, yeah, I made it to the bottom, guys. Hi. Raging, my little dog is named Milo as well. Aw, the one in the bat costume, Burke. Hi, Queen. Hi, Shell Bell. Hey, Squirrel Gang. 5150. Squirrel Gang, 5150. Well, I am watching HimTube, so not sure about YouTube. Oh, my. And your cat is named Milo, Nina Bina? Oh, my goodness. We got a lot of Milos. Everybody got a Milo. You got a Milo. Is it? Well, Paddles, my horse don't have a name, but I guess I'll just name it Milo. My horse's name is Milo. The inflatable horse. Beezer, you upgrading your wrench? Thank you. Thank you very much. I don't think the upgrades get much bigger there, my friend. Oh my. Okay, so you guys, listen. There is a case in the town where I came from, and I'm sure Lori knows about it because she's from around here. She's from around here. Or I can name him Trouble Paddles, right? You get the golden wrench. Yes, Kathleen, my horse with no name. Did she name them? Lori, you know which one it is already, don't you? October is the month when October is the month 13 years ago that they found a young girl in a Nike bag behind a grocery store here. I could see the grocery store from an apartment that I had at the time when they actually found her. So, like every October, I always think about her. And yesterday, I was thinking about her because they never solved the case. And just every October, it always seems like I think about her, and then I go back and I Google to see if they ever arrested anyone, and they still have not arrested anyone. But it was quite wild for sure. But I noticed that, hey, Dirty Travertine in the building. Thank goodness not in my building. I wouldn't want Dirty Travertine. But welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome. Hey, Billy. What's up? What's up? Mimi, you hitting it for other people? Wouldn't that be the thing? Just go through there and just keep hitting the button. Karina was friends with your niece. Was she? See, yeah. I actually know a friend of hers also. Gabi, Rex is doing okay. He's getting better. The other day, he almost made me cry because he went over by a bookshelf I have in the living room, and it's where I have Wa's blanket and his toy. You know, Wa never played with toys, but someone sent him a little lamb toy, so he was laying by it when he was sick, and it was up on the shelf. And I guess he smelled it because he ran over to the shelf and he started smelling up and down the length of the blanket. And then it was like he got so excited because he thought like Wa was in the shelf. So he smacked his head into these metal Disney commemorative movies we have. He smacked his head into those on the next shelf down. And then on the bottom shelf, there's a bag down there. And he like knocked it off of the shelf trying to look behind it. And it was so sad because I had said, Rex. And he looked up at me and I said, Wa's not here. And he let out a cry and went over and smacked our front door. And it was like me and my daughter were both standing there. I looked over at my daughter and she's got like tears in her eyes. I was like, oh my gosh. Like, I can't believe he screamed like that either. Hey, Dante. But he's not like he's getting up now and he's eating now. So he wasn't eating and he wasn't really getting up either. He was just sleeping for like 12, 15 hours. It's crazy. And then last night we have a cat also, but he's never paid any attention to the cat. He went over and left the cat, one of his stuffed monkeys, in front of the cat's door. So he's looking around. He's trying to make friends with the cats now. The cat. I'm sorry, we only have one cat. Hey, Dante. She was 19, Dante. Hi, angels above. Yeah, so it's not an all the time thing, but like the other day when he smelled his blanket, he went through like a little fit. He had a fit. And I was like, ugh, that sucks. Can you give him the blanket? Well, I can't give him the toy diamond because he'll just tear it up. It's like super tiny. It's maybe three 3-4 inches tall. But I have let him sleep with the blanket. But then if he leaves it on the floor, it gets folded up and put back on the shelf. So, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, she was 19 years old when she came up missing. We have a cat. Her name is Duct Tape. He's missing an eye. You know, my husband bought a one-eyed horse once. He went to a horse auction and he bought a bunch of horses, like 5 or 6 horses. And when he got one of them home, we were out in the pasture, like out there messing with them. And he flipped his hair up and noticed there wasn't an eye under that, the side where the hair hangs. Yeah, there wasn't an eye there, which was fine with us because, we just had a lot of horses. They didn't really have jobs to do or anything like that. They weren't show horses. They were just for our own enjoyment. And they were there for us to feed treats and take care of. Hi, Caper. Hi, Share Bear. So, yeah, we actually had a wild horse, too. He was completely wild when we got him, and nobody ever tried to break him or anything. And, I mean, he was completely wild when he went to his next house also. He just got to go be out there just running amok. Oh, the girl that was on the lives. I thought your dog was 19. He was turning 19 this month, actually, next week. He would have turned 19 this month. He was 18. He was my Chiweenie. He was 18 years old. Did your horses work at a medieval times dinner? No, not at all. we had maybe 6 horses that you could ride. But we had like 20, maybe a little over 20 in total. We had 6, maybe 8 horses that you could ride. All the other ones, I mean, you could ride them. If you could get a saddle on them, I would have allowed some of my friends to ride them if they really wanted to. I would have let them jump on the wild one if they so felt the need. Go ahead, but you can't just don't sue me afterwards. I've got 3 Chihuahuas with my Belgian. Oh my gosh. Those Malinois are some bad dogs, man. They are awesome. Super smart. I mean, can do any kind of tricks. They can jump up walls. My dog Trainer has a Malinois. And that dog, I mean, when they're out walking at the park, when the dog has to use the bathroom, he'll let my trainer know, and then the trainer tells him, go get your bag, and the dog will like run through the park till he gets to they have these little stands that have poop bags in them, and he'll go get his own poop bag and then come back and poop and then get the bag so that he can get it up. He also does handstands. He'll get in front of a wall with his butt up against the wall, and then he'll put his back legs on it, and he'll walk his hands backwards, and then he'll just stand up against the wall like that with his legs in the air. That's old for a dog. Wondering what you feed your dogs. We feed our dogs that Farmer's. We just switched over to that Farmer's Choice stuff or whatever it is. But before that, we fed them Eukanuba. Hi, Legally. How are you? Someone needs to call the restaurant and tell them she ain't got no money. Yeah, I heard about that. Whoops. My Chihuahua Palm, a Chihuahua Palm is 18. And I know, Donna. And listen, he was fine. He was fine. We went out to dinner. Yeah, him and Rex both followed us to the door, to the front area rug, like they do when we leave. And And we came back and his back legs weren't working. It was the craziest freaking thing. This one loves to jump on my chest and bank onto the couch. Hi, Els. Yeah, Wa would lay on the back, the very top of the back cushions of a couch. That's where he used to always lay. He had like a favorite cushion and he laid just right on top of it like it was his little cloud. So let's watch some of this. We're going to watch some of this. The local news station did like a catch up last year on the 12th year anniversary, and it has all the updates and everything in it. So we're just going to watch that. Hopefully one day the people that did this stuff will be brought to justice, because let me tell you, you do not want people like whoever did this walking the streets, okay, with anyone, really, like anyone. What happened to her was horrible. Hey, try me. It was horrible. They need to figure out who did it, and they need to lock them up forever. Actually, they probably might need to give them the DP. They might I think they might have earned the DP with this one. It bit you in the elbow. The horse bit you in the elbow, caper chick. One of our horses bit my brother in his shoulder. Yeah. Okay, let me grab this real quick. This was done by our local news station because there's a couple reporters that are really like on this case that were here from the start. So they actually update it pretty often.
It's dark what happened to her.
It's almost as if she knew something was going to happen. Chopped up in a body bag and left behind some building. Why leave her that way?
The fact that she was killed somewhere else and then moved, that's just a very bold statement.
I just want to know why.
There was a person who was in the area the evening that her body was placed.
I think he knows where her remaining body parts are.
Around this neighborhood, you're smart enough to know. Shut your mouth and mind your business.
Look, and that really is true, because this is definitely a horrible neighborhood right here, the one they just showed.
How many years is it going to take to not be afraid anymore, to want to step forward? Lisa Monahan, News 9. These people are still out there. 10 years.
Hello?
Do you not know what these guys are capable of?
What did she say to you? I just want to talk to you.
We're sorry.
You can only kick down so many doors.
You recognize her?
You can see that there's speckles here.
But that's evidence left behind. Your name keeps coming up in this investigation. We have the Homeland store right here.
They think you're getting too close.
You say she's living on the street.
Oh, I wish I could have paused that in the right place. Let me back up here. Right here. So this is the Homeland store. Actually, that's the front of the Homeland store right here. And then she was found behind the Homeland store. And then I think right here is where I lived. This edge right here.
When you say she's living on the street, where would I find her? Never jeopardize yourselves for these answers. Did you kill Karina Saunders?
No, I did not.
She was found in the field just right over. Did you kill Karina?
I've never murdered anybody.
We're here. Let's go.
You kidding me? You think this is somehow safe? Please leave.
Oh, right down there. I think that getting too close definitely jeopardizes your life.
One way in and no way out.
So why are all these people coming up dead?
I just want to ask you a couple of questions.
The less that I knew, the better off I was. You know, I want the answers, but not at the cost of somebody else's life.
Someone savagely killed 19-year-old Karina Saunders and continues to get away with it. For a decade, investigators have come up empty-handed. Suspects and evidence have seemed to fade, and friends who ask too many questions have met tragic ends. I'm investigative journalist Lisa Monahan, in search of the answers Karina's family deserves.
That's the news lady. She's been on top of this for years and years and years.
Butterflies remind me of Karina. It's like she's saying, don't give up on me. It's really a spiritual thing. The caterpillar basically dies. The caterpillar turns into the chrysalis, and then a butterfly is born from the essence.
That's her mom talking.
And that's why the butterfly is significant of rebirth. It's just so miraculous.
The butterfly in its brief existence can leave a lasting impression on the grief-stricken, a powerful representation of life, and in Karina Saunders' case, death.
When we put her here, this whole part of the cemetery was empty practically.
Margie Queen and Richard Saunders know this place well. The feel of the breeze on a warm autumn day, how the sun warms the headstones. Maybe they know it too well. A decade after the murder of their daughter, Karina's parents would like nothing more than to bury something else here. Their grief.
It's hard to keep believing and hoping.
But they have warned us there will be no tears this visit. They refuse to give Karina's killer or killers such satisfaction.
I've even thought up scenarios to spit in their face.
And yet they've kept their composure all these years through the case's traumatic twists and dramatic turns.
So you don't want to approach certain things with revenge and anger on your mind.
Look, that man right there, I've seen him go through so many different moods. Like I've seen him be so mad and then so calm at the same time. It's yeah.
And yet it's still an open case. So where's the justice?
10 years is a long time. A decade of opening old wounds and reliving the unimaginable in the slim hope that it might help. They have refused to give up, putting themselves out there time after time, daring to believe it will all someday pay off, that break in the case will come.
I would like to be face to face with some of these people that might possibly know something. I would like to see their face. I would like for them to see my face.
You know what you would say?
What happened to my daughter? What did you do to her?
There are so many questions, haunting questions that demand answers. Why did Karina Saunders end up here? She was only 19. Her body dismembered and shoved into bags. Who would do such a thing?
What could she have ever done? And why her? And for
Well, there is no excuse for it, no matter what she did. Really. I mean, it's nobody's job to decide anyone's lifeline.
what purpose?
And the most unsettling, did she suffer?
I picture her crying out for me. I couldn't be there. That's what tortures me, and I hate using the word torture because she was tortured.
The murder of Karina Saunders, while torture for her parents, was a major news event when it happened and has gripped me like no other case has in my career. 2 months and still no arrest for her. We obtained confidential information earlier this month. Charges would be dropped against the two suspects. With so many twists and turns in the case, since someone savagely murdered the 19-year-old, now 3 weeks after our exclusive report, for 10 years, Karina Saunders' family has been waiting for justice.
It is a beautiful headstone. You're right. It is. It's a really beautiful headstone.
For Karina's parents, the horrifying story began well before we picked it up. A story of a smart and loving 19-year-old with a promising future.
She was still a teen, 19. It's not like she was living out homeless for years and years and years. She was just barely out of high school, A year later, this happens.
October 13th, 2011 is where we come in. Bethany police began working the case and called on the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation to help with the crime scene.
I recall it being a very warm day, and there certainly was an odor of decomposition.
CSI agents immediately.
Most definitely, Raging. I mean, you got to really, really be sick, okay? Because they put her in two, separate bags. There's parts of her that they never found. And she didn't have any feet, parts of her forearms. She didn't have any hands. And her left chest area was gone. And they never did find any of that.
Immediately roped off the wooded area behind the grocery store at Northwest 23rd and Rockwell.
This is a disposal site. You don't know what could be out there. So is it just the body? Do we have other physical?
Oh, and I want to add, because I know a lot of other stuff that really isn't in here. So I guess there's a group local to this area that goes out and they set up traps to get feral cats. So they went behind the Homeland store, which is Crest now. They went behind the Homeland store to set traps to catch feral cats. And then they seen the two black bags and a really bad smell, so they called the police.
Evidence.
With the investigation underway, we delivered the shocking news. Body parts had been discovered strategically wrapped in plastic, put into a duffel bag and a smaller laundry bag, and hidden in plain sight along a tree line in Bethany, Oklahoma.
In later paperwork, they actually said that each piece was individually wrapped in plastic. So they took each piece and wrapped it in plastic before putting them in the bags that they tossed out.
Obviously, those are areas where we want to concentrate our search for evidence. Evidence could be as small as, a shoe wear impression or, hairs or fibers or small things like that.
The search kept everyone in suspense, but they never found evidence pointing to the killer.
We have several names that we are following up on. Right now, we're not putting them out as persons of interest.
As Bethany police began digging further, they discovered Karina was connected to the drug trade, dealers, users, and addicts, a dark and well-concealed underground. An impenetrable organization in which people are too afraid to talk. And if they do, it's only enough to throw investigators off.
When you have a witness, you have to gauge their truthfulness by their motives for cooperating with you.
Bad information poisoned the investigation in its early stages, but that didn't become clear until Bethany detectives made 2 arrests in July 2012.
Yeah, now I also got to point out that this place, Bethany, that they found her body, is a very, very small town. I mean, it just has a street that crosses into the next town, another street that crosses, you just cross a street and you're in Oklahoma City, or you cross another street and you might be in War Acres, but it's really small. So the police department there probably, has a dozen officers maybe. James Bond, you're in the hospital? Oh, no. Get well soon.
At that point, Gary Eastridge, chief investigator in the Oklahoma County District Attorney's Office, began vetting the case for prosecution.
Oh,
I kept looking for something that connected the two suspects with the victim, and I couldn't find anything definitive in my mind.
Eastridge soon discovered the detectives had based the arrest more on statements from alleged eyewitnesses than actual evidence.
In this case, many witnesses were addicted to methamphetamines. There were things that were told by witnesses that we knew were factually inaccurate.
Prosecutors had no choice.
Now, I'm not real sure what they're talking about being factually and, inaccurate. But I guess a lot of these people that were involved with this were also in the rug game. So hold on one second. I'll be right back. Okay, sorry. So I think some of the witnesses that they were talking about was one of her friends from high school was a guy named Cody. And someone had told the police that he had like jumped town, he was like going to culinary school. And they said that he went and pawned all his culinary knives and he was getting out of the state and headed to Arizona and all this stuff, which ended up, they said, was just bad timing. That he just happened to go out of town because they talked to him about a week afterwards and determined that he didn't have anything to do with it. All right.
Choice but to dismiss the murder charges. To this day, witnesses are still changing their stories, and the statements as to how and where Karina was killed conflict with each other. Meth use is not the only challenge. There was no crime scene ever identified.
To this day, there's not been a crime scene.
It's a case that begs to be solved, if for nothing more than peace of mind.
So how to work this case, you just start from scratch like any other case and document your evidence as well as you can. Follow every lead.
We are committed to doing just that, exploring the many theories surrounding this complicated case. Was Karina's death retribution for an unpaid drug debt? Did she die to settle a score? Or the unfathomable, was her murder a case of mistaken identity?
I'm the last one that's seen her at the casino. I'm the one that dropped her off. And it's haunted me for the rest of my life. The fact that I could have been her.
Next, we launch our own investigation, chasing down leads in dangerous places.
So the last time she was actually seen was on a camera at a casino here called Newcastle Casino. She was seen getting out of one car and getting into a double cab red truck with a front grill on it. It was full of men. The man that they could see that got out of the truck had 2 full arm tattoos. And there was also a dark colored car there with women in it. And they were actually yelling at her to not get in the truck with them, to not go with him. And they were trying to warn her and yelling at her. And then she got in the truck anyway and left. That was the last time that anyone seen her. Just to fill in that casino part.
There's certain people that have dug a little deeper, that have walked into certain areas that they didn't walk out of.
I think that getting too close definitely jeopardizes your life.
Devil's in the details. There were several theories as far as the motive for the murder. There's lots of suspects in the case. Because of some of the lifestyle choices Karina had made, she made that suspect pool very deep. There was numerous people who could have a reason to commit the murder.
Hidden somewhere in this network of people is the truth of what happened to Karina. But finding the truth means first finding people willing to talk.
We're sorry.
My friend has a Derek Todd Lee story like that. Wow. Oh, Dorothy, don't mail anything to that address, y'all. I don't have my box there anymore.
The number that has been disconnected or is no longer in
This case is
I'll get you the new one soon.
a dangerous case. You can never be too safe, especially when dealing with someone who's capable of doing that.
We've agreed to hide your identity. Can you tell us what you're most afraid of?
These people are running free right now. They could do it again. They're dangerous people.
Those people, our confidential source says, are part of a mostly invisible society that operates in the darkest corners of the Oklahoma City metro and follows a strict no snitching code. Does it have you looking over your shoulder?
Yeah. It's just a scary environment to be around.
It's where Karina lived out her final days and where investigators have concentrated their efforts.
No? Okay, that's what we're trying to find out.
I tracked down the original detectives, Jack Jinks and Austin Warfield, hoping to find out more about their investigation. Both are retired now. They left Bethany PD amidst criticism of their work on this case, and despite repeated requests, declined to be interviewed. The investigation.
I just want to point out both of those investigators she's talking about, I believe they both got fired and then picked up some other criminal charges that were later dismissed, and then they got rehired with back pay from the time that they left.
Is currently in the hands of the OSBI, which took over the case when irregularities were found with the Bethany investigation. Because Karina's case is still active with the Bureau, her file is protected by a state law that prohibits the agency from releasing reports in the investigation. So we set out to launch our own investigation and spent the better part of a year in search of new leads. Covering Karina's murder for 10 years, it wasn't hard to put together a list of the case's key players and places. It would be much harder to turn that list into real leads. People in this life don't want to talk. Just finding them can be hard enough.
At the time, Saunders' family told News 9 Massey knew about the murder.
It took us years to track down Jimmy Massey, one of the men originally charged with Karina's murder. But in 2020, we convinced him to answer our questions and face Karina's parents.
But did you know her? No, I've never seen her. That is what I'm asking. Like, why did y'all single me out? Who is this girl that said all this stuff?
Your name came out of her mouth.
Are you ready? I'm ready.
We also arranged for Massey to take a polygraph test.
Did you cause the death of Karina Saunders?
No.
No deception indicated. You passed this test.
That man right there had been arrested with another man for her case and were held for 7 months in the county jail as suspects in her case. And then they ended up getting released. This is a couple years later. Well, actually more than a couple years later. This is at least 10 years later. He agreed to come back from, I think he was living in Texas. He agreed to come back and take a lie detector test to prove that he wasn't involved. And her parents were also sitting in this same building, which they ended up having, they talked to each other in the end. I mean, it wasn't a real good visit there. Hey, Jane. Hey, Tamron. Also, you know what else? In the beginning of this case, so her daughter leaves and she's at her cousin's house. Her cousin drops her off at Taco Bell to meet the man in another truck that she went over to his house, which will end up being a different suspect they look at. But, oh, I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, and then her cousin gets this text message randomly from some guy that says, I'm going to bury you next to Carina. This is before they ever knew she was missing. It was before they reported her missing. It was before they even realized anything was wrong. So she called her aunt, which would have been Karina's mom, and told her that some guy had texted her and said that he was gonna bury her next to Carina. And come to find out, it was some guy that liked Carina and thought that her cousin's phone number was a man that she was talking to. But my thing is, how do you text someone that you're going to bury them next to her before they know she's missing? Like, I don't know. Well, I actually do know. I was going to say, I don't know if this little bitty police station out there could handle this, but they definitely couldn't. They couldn't. My nephew was shot and killed by a Blackwell, Oklahoma police officer. His body was hidden in a morgue for 7 years. Oh my gosh, little Nikki. I could believe that though. They've had so many towns with other cover-ups. Let me tell you, there's 2 cases that are local to my state that really bother me. This is one of them. And there's another one. And guess who's involved in it, Nikki? The police force. The police force, there's 2 people missing. They have never been found. I mean, the car, the phones were pinging on the land of the sheriff, who's since then been fired, arrested, charged with all kinds of, fraud and stuff. He was letting his son use his sheriff cruiser to go out and sell meth to people. Like, it's crazy. And they still haven't gotten anywhere either. So that case and this case are the 2 that really bother me when it comes to this state. $10 million bond. That's a high bond, Regent. Hi, Jonathan. Lake Overholster has at least a couple people found it. I know, Lori, for real. That lake is something. If it's not the cars that aren't driving safe out there and don't make those turns, they go straight in there in the cars, or, just people drowning. You're right. Overholster is a bad one for that. All right.
Okay, you did really well.
Here we go.
Then there's Luis Ruiz, the other man initially charged with Karina's murder. Prosecutors also dropped the case against him, and he settled a wrongful arrest lawsuit.
Now, in steps Luis Ruiz. I asked why so high. Oh, hey, Chicky Chick. Hey, Brie Guy. Welcome.
We've been unable to find Ruiz since his release, but we were determined to find others.
Now, when they arrested Ruiz, they had a witness. A lady came forward and said that she was kidnapped by that guy and Ruiz, and she was taken to like a trap house on the south side, and that while she was there, she was made to stand and watch what happened to Carina, is what she told the police at first. She said she was there. She was an eyewitness to it, and she got away by jumping out of the window of the trap house. Now, also, there was another witness that came forward and said that she was with that guy they just showed, Luis Ruiz. Here, let me show you. Whoops. Where'd you go? Where are you at, Louise? Hold on.
Here we go.
Then there's Luis.
Okay, then there was another eyewitness that said she was with him in a seedy hotel on the south side. A super seedy, like one of the seediest hotels I've ever heard of, down there on the south side, and he went to take a shower. She grabs his phone and goes through it and finds a video with Carina. She recognizes Carina because she's been around her before, and it's him. And she said that she had to shut it off when she started screaming because he sawed her foot off. Now, the one that jumped out of the window said that he beat her up, sawed her left foot off, and then the saw broke on the right foot. Also, another witness was just this guy's girlfriend. She had gave the police a statement saying that she had to babysit Carina a few times when she was really messed up on either drugs or alcohol. And that he had mentioned that he was going to have to deal with her in some way. So I'm not sure how. They arrested both of these guys. Now, the other guy they arrested just took the polygraph, and you see he came out okay. And then this guy, they had him in there for 7 months. And then the witnesses, the women that had came forward with those stories, they didn't want their names released. But then our local newspaper accidentally put their real names in the newspaper when they did a story on it. And then all those witnesses disappeared, like they just ran off. And then so, yes, Yes, Mama Goose. That's allegedly. That's what all the witnesses said that they had. So they arrested these guys 7 months later. They said they didn't have enough in the case. So they let him out. And then this guy sues the police station and gets $50,000 for being wrongfully arrested, which I don't understand how you're wrongfully arrested if there's two different women telling two different stories and your girlfriend told on you. I just don't understand. But anywho, he sued him and he won.
Ruiz, the other man initially charged with Karina's murder. Prosecutors also dropped the case against him, and he settled a wrongful arrest lawsuit. We've been unable to find Ruiz since his release,
Okay, Rick.
but we were determined to find others. Looking at the map, we focus in this area where the lines blur between Oklahoma City and Bethany.
911.
The shadowy areas of the 15 square miles surrounding the field where Karina's body was discovered in bags.
We've got a smell and large black bag that's been hidden here, and we're not sure what it is. Maybe you guys better check it out.
Our research showed most of the people connected to Karina's case were within close range of the crime scene in 2011. Some are still here, while others, felons with long rap sheets, are in prison. We were warned other people tried to find out more about Karina's death and turned up dead.
There's certain people that have dug a little deeper, that have walked into certain areas that they didn't walk out of.
Focus on Karina.
And that's sad. One of her good friends, it bothered him a lot about what happened to her. And so he went digging like a lot, like, you know, going around trying to piece together stuff. And he also came up deceased. Did y'all hear about the girl in Halifax? No. Oh my goodness, Jane, no.
We decided to proceed, but with caution.
I'm investigating the unsolved murder of Karina Saunders.
Wow.
Do you have any information you can help me out with?
Carrie Strobel is related to a person of interest in this case and says authorities have questioned her through the years. Early on, we went after people like Carrie, who were relatively removed from the situation, hoping they could safely give us information that would get us closer to the truth.
Everybody who was involved in this has split.
Why?
They're all scared.
I've been trying to find her.
She's on the street, literally. She's on ice and she's on the street.
I've been trying to track her down for some time.
Oh, you're the one she's running from.
She couldn't point us to the person we were looking for, but claimed.
Look, I mean, this reporter is so into this story. She got witnesses on the run. They're like, let me stay away from her. Oh my gosh, in the oven, so sad. Yeah, I have not heard that yet. That is sad though. Oh my goodness. Are you telling me no one could hear her in the oven, in the Walmart oven? Ugh.
To have information about a possible crime scene, a house where Karina was rumored to have been killed.
It was set on fire.
The house was set on fire.
The house is now abandoned.
The house where this happened.
The house is all blacked out. All the windows are all blacked out. The windows that are standing are all blacked
Who
out.
owns that house now?
I don't know.
Carrie says she went by the house a few years after the murder, but couldn't remember the exact address. She tried to take us there.
We were on just this street of MacArthur, and the off-ramp was directly on this there.
Carrie couldn't remember the exact address of the house, but says she went by there a few years after the murder. She tried, to the best of her recollection, to take us there.
It will all make this whole story will make so much sense when you see that.
Okay.
But with the passage of so much time, it was evident that memories had faded.
Now, if I go straight, it dead ends.
You should be able to see a highway. We walked all the way down
It also didn't help that the landscape had changed.
Can you see what you're talking about from here?
No.
Oh, right down there.
So after making the drive a few times,
Is that council?
You couldn't remember where it was.
we decided it was best to move on.
Let me see. Let me see what you're talking about. The doors were thick. To the Walmart oven. Foul play. Her mama found her. Yes, as a mother. Her mama found her. Oh my gosh. I'm going to have to look that up. When did it happen, you guys? Recently? I'm shocked I haven't seen that. It was a walk-in oven. I've never even heard of a walk-in oven. Did you know that? The past week, huh? Oh, wow. Phew. That's crazy.
We put it in our rear view, but I couldn't let go of the fact that Carrie's recollection of an abandoned house set on fire was very similar to investigators' narrative a month after the murder. A burnt-out two-story house known for drugs and prostitution is how Bethany police detectives described a possible crime scene in 2011.
There was some people coming and going all hours of the night, you know.
Now, one of the girl witnesses, the one that said she was kidnapped by them and that she actually seen what they did to that girl and she had to jump out of the window, she said that they took her to this house that they're at now. And the day that they found her in the duffel bags behind the grocery store, the very day that they found her body, the house was professionally bulldozed. The entire house. Yes, Chicky, Bethany is. It's a tiny town. You know, their police station couldn't even handle nothing like that. And I think that's how this case got so messed up. Thank you, Diamond. I watched Cinema Shogun. Awesome.
It was restrained.
Witnesses told detectives Karina was tortured and killed at an abandoned home in South Oklahoma City.
I know there was 2 or 3 girls at one time over there.
Of the girls that you saw, did you ever recognize this one?
I think I seen that gal here. I think I have.
Bethany police used witness information to zero in on an exact location, 3500 South Harvey. Despite it being a 20-minute drive from where Karina's remains were discovered, it had to be explored, if only to rule it out. Back then, detectives Jinks and Warfield followed the lead and made a shocking discovery. The house, a potential crime scene, was gone. I searched public records but couldn't find anything to suggest authorities had attempted to unearth evidence at that location. Others who have reviewed the case believe the tip was a long shot in the first place.
It never made any sense to me that the murder would happen miles and miles in both directions from where the body was recovered, and then that they would transport that body back.
So I had to get creative to find out more.
Well, you know, that doesn't really not make sense to me. I mean, if you did that to someone, you most likely would go back and dump it where you feel comfortable at, right? So maybe whoever did this was comfortable in the Bethany area, because they're saying that it happened like by downtown. But if they're going to take whoever did it had to carry those 2 bags into that field. So you would have to feel comfortable where you're at, or comfortable that nobody can see you. Maybe they've been back there before. Maybe they camped back there. I don't know. But they would have, I mean, I think a person would go to dump a body somewhere that they feel comfortable, somewhere they've been before. Exactly, Ragin. Like, yeah, I think it makes sense. I just feel like maybe whoever did it is maybe from that area or lived in that area at one time, grew up in that area. So it kind of makes sense to me, but.
More about this mysterious house and how or if it's relevant.
I figured it probably happened. I figure it probably happened right here.
Up next, some digging on the internet uncovers a connection between the fate of the house and the fate of Karina Saunders. Is it?
Oh, yeah. When this video ends, ask the chat. Oh, yeah. Can you guys do me a favor? Out of the Quentin Simon case or the Sarah Boone case, well, which one are you more interested in? I mean, I'm not going to go back over the case. It's obviously been gone over, but there's something that I do want to put out. Maybe live around there. Right, exactly, Sicilian. If they know who is involved, then they should be able to find. Right, but they don't know, little Nikki. Let's see. I followed Quentin. Sarah, Quentin, Sarah. Quentin. Oh, it's not going to be it's not going to be about the baby. It's going to be about Leilani. I just love how I know, little Nikki. How you got the nerve going down there talking about you going to go down there and go be with the grandma and you don't even know the kid's name. Drive me to insanity. If you don't say his dang name, all you worried about is some chili and attention and messing with Molly. That's all she was trying to do. She didn't even know that little boy's name, man. What a disgrace.
Is it coincidence? Or something more? October 13th, 2011. The same day a missing person case turned into a gruesome murder for police in Bethany.
We're learning more about the body found in a duffel bag in Bethany yesterday morning. Tonight, we're told they believe it's that.
On the other side of town,
The ME has done a preliminary exam.
something else was coming undone.
Very vacant on the body.
A dilapidated two-story house at 3500 South Harvey was leveled. Detectives didn't know it at the time, but the demolition of that infamous drug house, just as Karina's remains were being discovered, could have destroyed key evidence in the case. Within months of the murder, women loosely associated to the initial suspects, Luis Ruiz and Jimmy Massey, went to police claiming they'd been kidnapped, blindfolded, and taken to the Harvey drug house, where they were forced to watch the torture and killing of Karina Saunders. If true, the timing of the demolition.
Now, if that's true, all three of these witnesses, his girlfriend, one of them, two other women that were around him, one of them was in a hotel with him. This other lady claims that she was kidnapped by him and taken to the house and forced to watch the dismemberment. Well, I could have Clinton. I just couldn't. Oh yeah, me either, Billy. Me either. I wanted to see Leilani's mom if she got on the stand. I don't think they ever put her up there. Oh, Burke, thank you for gifting a membership. Diamond got it. Diamond Lucidity. Burke bought you a membership. Yay. We're going to have some members only. I usually put a lot of my lives back in members only afterwards. I wonder where that girl is now. I know, Lori, listen, she had an attorney and everything, and they were meeting with the Bethany police. The problem was she was scared for her life, which who wouldn't be if people can do stuff like this? Hey, Kayla. So she was scared for her life. She wanted to be a witness, but she didn't want her name out there. And then literally the newspaper here, it's called the Oklahoman. They write a story about Karina, and they put the witnesses' real names in it. I mean, just outed them. So they all like, poof, they disappeared because they were scared for their lives. I mean, imagine if you knew someone in real life that could do this to someone, and then the newspaper puts your real name in there as a witness, and you actually know this person. I'd have left too. Hey, Barbara.
Seemed too coincidental to ignore.
When I heard about it, I thought, man, it probably happened right there.
I started scouring the internet for any connection between Karina and the house. According to online records, an Oklahoma-based property investor purchased it in July 2011 and got rid of it 3 months later. The demolition permit we discovered was submitted to the city October 12th. The approval was date-stamped October 13th, 2011. The house came down that day. I reached out to the investor to ask why he bought the house in the first place. Records show he bought and kept other properties in the area. Why did he get rid of this one? Did something happen? This is Lisa Monahan with News 9 in Oklahoma City calling again about your property at 3500 South Harvey. I've been trying to reach you for a few months now. Countless calls went unanswered. I couldn't help but think you may have also ignored calls about the property back in 2011.
I went over there to complain about something. And I knocked on the door, and some gal answered the door, and I looked in there, and there was all kind of writings on the wall and stuff.
More than just an eyesore, neighbors described the house as a hotbed for drugs, prostitution, and violence.
People come and go in all hours of the night.
Bob Witt is the landlord of the apartment complex adjacent to the now vacant lot. He's been in the area for nearly 30 years.
It wasn't normal.
I know he's glad that house is gone because he got apartment houses over there. I bet you that house just made his apartments a bad area. Shoot, me three, Jane Doe, I'd be out of there. No. Like that lady had to jump out the window. I'd have went out the window too, head first if I needed to, right in front of them. Anyone going to stand here and watch that?
They were stealing water from my hydrant over there. I don't even think there was any utilities on in the house. This guy that was living here or whatever, he was shady. I mean, he's the type you need to be careful.
Witt had a sneaking suspicion there was more to know about what went on here. I can understand redacting the witness information, but why the suspect? So I decided to check with Oklahoma City Police to see if any major crimes had been reported at that address around the time Karina was killed.
And this is another thing. She does a FOIA report on the address, you guys. And the FOIA report comes back with all the 911 calls they had had. And they blacked out not only the victim's information, they blacked out the suspect, the person that got arrested out of the house. Why would you redact the suspect? That makes no sense to a FOIA. Oh, yeah, me either, Jane Doe.
If so, those reports could contain information to help us identify this mysterious man we kept hearing about.
One particular guy. I've seen him more than anybody.
Like, how would you describe him if you could?
Wishy-washy.
I requested the 911 calls from that location and received a list of about a dozen, all made within a year of the murder.
You guys, I'm about to light my candle, but how come every time I go to light my candle now, I feel like I should do some kind of like revenge, revenge lighting. Just let the lemon flavor come. That's all I want. That's all I want.
Murder. 4 were serious enough for police to make a report. We looked through the reports for even the slightest connection to Karina. Nothing jumped out, but details of the crimes did fit with her lifestyle at that time. And we were able to confirm that convicted felons, sex offenders, drug dealers, and prostitutes were at the house in 2011. We also discovered police seized an array of guns and ammo, methamphetamines, and sex toys from the house before August 2011.
But they won't name them. They redact them. What kind of sense does that make? Pedophiles, drug dealers, guns, drugs, everything, and then you redact the people's name. Yes, lemon. They have a Walmart brand, Homes Mainstays. It's called Sweet Sugared Lemon. Oh my goodness, smells just like lemon. It's great. Every time I do a live, I light candles. I like my scents in my office. Was this drug house they were allowing to happen? Well, Oklahoma City's huge, man. They have no way to control it. They don't. There's empty, abandoned drug houses everywhere. Tink is moving into Mike's mom. She doesn't know what she signed up. Oh, Lord. She's, apparently only got to pay the utility bill. And all I got to say is, leave all the lights on, you guys. Leave all the lights on like she does. See, now she's going to be over there wanting people to shut down the lights. I say light it on up. Light it up. I'm buying one this week. I love. Oh, yeah, Jane. They smell great. You have that one too, Travertine? Happens here all the time. They allow certain places to function so they can get lots of. Yeah. Chicky, in the neighborhood where that house was, there's got to be 100 houses within a 1 mile circle radius from that house. There's got to be 100 drug houses. It's a horrible, horrible part of the city. It's actually, it has like Robinson Street is right near it too. And that's like the whole stroll here, like everything bad going on is happening there. Mike's mom will not be having it in about 5, 4, 3, 2. I don't know how long it'll take, y'all. Listen, I done already guessed with someone else. I said, once she starts living there full time and she never leaves, like doesn't go to Florida out of town, she doesn't run back to her house and sit on the brown couch to go live in the dark because the utilities will be off. When she doesn't do that anymore, I give it like 4 to 6 weeks when she's actually stuck there. I feel like they will be in a knockdown, drag out fight. Yeah. Hey, we got more thumbs up than people watching. Whoop, whoop. No, I'm just kidding. She was trying to get fired from State Farm. Now that I believe. She was in Skis talking earlier, you guys, and she said that she didn't know until she got there that she was paid hourly. And then yesterday she said she made $6,500 in her check for 2 weeks. And she said she made $31.20 an hour and that she broke even. So you're telling me you spent $6,500 being there for 2 weeks? How did you break even? Somebody add it up. Somebody, please. My math. I mean, my math is always mathing, okay? She was telling him everything. She said the Airbnb costs $100 a night. Okay, so you're there for what, 14? Let's just say 20 days. That's $2K. You still got $4,500. Did that go in the gas tank? What are we doing here? Yeah, she said she worked 84 hours a week, y'all. But then told us the day she was missing, she only had a 9 o'clock and a noon. And to have a noon after a 9 o'clock means that this job shouldn't take more than 3 hours. So which means your noon went till 3 p.m. That means you work 9 to 3. That's 6 hours. I don't understand. To work 84 hours a week, you got to work 12 hours a day every single day. Every single day. It doesn't add up. And not only that, why were you paying $100 a day if you had 2 roommates? Don't you split that? So it's more like $33 a day, $33.33 a day times 20, $600, $650. 9 to 3 equals 84. Right. Yeah, none of it made any sense what she was saying to Skis. And I was like, and then when she said she's not going to be taking any more jobs from them. First of all, she said she went back to work and did 2 jobs after the morning she took off. So apparently she went and did her, 9 and noon that she said she was missing. She did that afternoon. Like, she goes back and forth. It doesn't make any sense. I don't understand Tink's math, so I can't really. I can't figure her out. I'm sorry. I feel like I'd have to smack my head into the wall 12 times and then try to think like her to possibly get it right. Just saying.
Before someone set the house on fire. The arson report didn't reveal much. Specific details of the fire were buried in reports that are not available to the public. And Oklahoma City police heavily redacted the report before turning it over to us. The suspect's name was blacked out. We didn't have much to go on, just a partial description. A man in his early 40s, thin, approximately 5'10", with brown hair and eyes. It wasn't much, but it sounded familiar.
He was shapy.
A big tall guy or a small guy or?
Medium size, probably 8 to 2, taller than me, probably slender than me. Oh, he was probably 10, 15 years younger than me.
Do you ever see anyone that fit that description around here?
Witt thought the sketch closely resembled the person he'd been describing to us, but wasn't certain.
That could have been the guy that I seen coming and going.
The OSBI released the sketch in 2020 after a witness came forward to report suspicious activity near the grocery store around the time of the murder.
I think this person said, oh, wow, I think that maybe I was there long enough or saw something that maybe no one else has reported on yet. And then there it is by itself. If I pick the eyebrows, okay. In this instance, there was a person who was in the area the evening that her body was placed.
Special agent and forensic artist Travis Smitty interviewed the witness who remembered seeing a man in the field where Karina's remains were found.
We try to put them back into the moment and ask relevant questions that help us focus on the individual more so than the event itself.
After the interview, what happens?
Has anyone ever done this that's in here? Have you ever had to try to sketch somebody out? Because I'm not sure how in 2020 from 2011, you can walk in there and try to sketch a face out. How can you do that 9 years later? I mean, really? 9 years later, it all of a sudden hits you, oh, maybe I seen someone in there?
The way that I like to proceed with these is you start with a basic face shape. Facial tones, mustache. We spend a lot of time focusing on facial features and the actual, the uniqueness of the person themselves. Once we've got the lips right, the nose right, the ears right, the eyebrows right, then we can add on the eyes. And once we've added on the eyes, that's when we really know if we're on track or not. Eyes are the most important part of a face that really draws people to who are you.
Several years after the encounter, the witness still had impeccable recall that allowed them to create this composite sketch.
Whatever we end up creating, that is essentially, it's their drawing or their composite. I am just a person that's trying to help them wade through all of this multitude of options.
Unable to put a name to the sketch or the mystery man at the house on Harvey, we decided to follow up on the landlord's other lead. The graffiti he described on the walls inside the house.
I knew I wasn't going in that house because I seen stuff, paint or whatever it was.
Look at that house, y'all. What in the heck was all that?
Scribbling on the walls, couldn't tell you what it was.
Although he couldn't tell us, I knew someone who possibly could.
I spent probably at least 2 or 3 years documenting what was going on in that house.
Brian Bates of JohnTV.com was working in the area as an anti-prostitution activist in 2011.
Who's heard of this guy? Has anyone ever heard of him? Brian Bates is a guy from here who single-handedly thought he was going to take down prostitution, period, by himself. So what he would do was go downtown to the exact area where they're talking about, where that house was and stuff. He would go down there with his camera, and he would go and record prostitutes while they were doing their job, and he would follow them with their johns, and he would let them like pull over in alleys and stuff, and all of a sudden here come this dude with the camera, man, popping up on them while they're, you know, doing stuff in the vehicle. And then he would confront them, get a picture of their license plate, and then go turn it into the police, and the police would look up their license plate and go to their house, and they have the movie, and then they would go prosecute them. Yeah, real. Brian Bates, that's his name. He used to run a channel called John TV. Hey, Devious. Hey, Nanya. Thank you. Yeah, so Nanya, he's from here, okay? I've seen him 1,000 times. He will run up on them. He will confront pimps. Like, he's videotaped, like this one girl, she stabbed her pimp and killed him right on the tape while he was videotaping them from down the street. Lori, it's creepy altogether, but that's my opinion.
Of all the landmarks in the South Robinson area, it was probably the most prolific. It could be known drug dealers, definitely known pimps. We would videotape all the comings and goings, trying to make people nervous there. But honestly, that was one of the residences where none of the standard tricks really worked. Nobody cared.
It was so bad, Bates wouldn't go alone to document the fire.
The place just gave you the creeps. There were needles strewn about. There were condoms strewn about. It was just not a safe place, and it certainly was not a welcome presence in the neighborhood.
I wanted to...
Dude, sometimes it was kind of funny, man. I seen a couple videos that he made. I mean, where someone will be back there doing something, and he'll pop up in the windshield. You should see their faces. They'll get out ready to fight him. I don't see him try to run him over. I don't see him try to talk him out of what he was doing. Oh, my goodness. It was crazy. Like, it was crazy.
To see for myself what the inside of the house looked like, if it truly matched with how witnesses described the crime scene. It is a rare perspective, and one that could help us determine if Karina was in the house prior to her death. It certainly sounded like a place Karina would have gone with friends.
Yes, it was just a place to hang out to do the drugs.
Gabby Mize would know better than...
That house looks scary. I mean, look at that.
Most. She was one of the only high school friends still hanging out with Karina in the end. She described a house eerily similar.
We hung out there and smoked meth or whatever, but I have a very slight memory of the front of the house. I know that it had a carport, and there was a tarp thing on the side, like I think to make like a wall or something, and that the guy's bedroom was the garage. Like, we walked straight through to the garage.
What was his name?
I don't know. I have no idea. I know he's a tall, slender guy.
Yet another reference to the unknown man. But Mize said something even more significant.
The first time we were there to get high. And so we just were in this guy's garage, and we just smoked, and I colored on the walls with a Sharpie, and Karina, I think, colored somewhat, and it was just like random doodling, like really.
She mentioned the doodling to me more than once.
You know what's sad is that this happened to her so young, because she was just going to high school and graduated. So she must have been doing these rugs for less than a year and all this happened to her. I mean, she was so young. It had to be less than a year that she was even involved with any of the the rug stuff.
She couldn't confirm if the house was in fact the Harvey house, but I thought maybe I could by looking for evidence of their artwork or Karina's name in these images of the house. Much of it is indecipherable. I noticed several scribblings in permanent marker, smiley faces in paint, and red smears on the doors. Also disturbing are handprints on the walls, huge chunks of missing sheetrock, and apparent death notes. But was this the same house? It seems inconclusive. Sources have told me in August 2011, a frustrated neighbor spray painted "Dope House" all over the exterior of the house.
Damn, there's death notes on the wall. I mean, people just in there hating life, and they're getting high.
And that hours later, the alleged drug dealers moved their stuff out of the house and set it on fire.
I could certainly see someone being afraid of something that may be found in that residence, so they went back to destroy it, and fire would be the easiest way to do that.
Are you glad it's gone?
Oh, yeah.
It's gone, and likely so is any evidence. Was this a miss in the beginning? Eyewitnesses say detectives were here in June 2012, 8 months after the murder, in what was described as a simple ground search. We checked and couldn't find any paperwork to show detectives.
I can't believe the police went back to that field 8 months later to search it. Look, there's nothing left there. It's completely empty. Except for, did you see that pile, how it humps up in the middle there? I think they actually took the house and caved it into its basement. I wonder if that hump isn't like, a bunch of wood and stuff that they stuffed to fill in the basement. And that's why it sticks up right there. But I wonder if they could like take all that stuff out and see a basement. They're not willing to do that, I don't think. But that's where the house once stood.
Dug any deeper, raising the question. The house had obviously been destroyed by the time detectives got here, but why not check below the surface? If investigators had dug in on every lead in the beginning, they could have pulled the old pipes to test for blood evidence. And at the very least, they'd have a better understanding of why this area is unsettled now.
There's something out there, that mound of stuff that's out there.
We tracked down the wrecking company and confirmed the house had a basement prior to the demolition. We can't say for certain what's pushing the ground up, but if a basement still exists, could evidence be buried in it? The only way to find out for sure would be to use ground-penetrating radar to look for an anomaly. 2 different companies denied our request to perform the test. What if Karina's missing body parts are buried underneath?
I don't know why somebody hadn't come and checked and seen what that was.
Investigators eventually dig somewhere else, though, and uncover disturbing items hidden below. We'll explore if their discovery also unearths some answers.
Now that right there, hold on. That house right there. Okay, so the last time that her cousin seen her, she was dropping her off at a Taco Bell to meet a guy that she knew. And that's that guy's house. Now, the guy that she met was supposedly a friend of hers. She's 19. This dude's 44 years old, you guys. 44 years old, hanging out with a 19-year-old. And she told everyone was her friend, but then they came to find out that he was more like sex trafficking, possible pimp. And also, he told her he was going to make her an amateur corn star. So this old man was just, she's 19, he's 44. So this is like 10 years or more later, this guy gets arrested for some rug charges. He gets arrested for some rug charges, and they download his phone at the police station, and he has pictures of her over a decade old in the phone. And they never told anyone or showed anyone what they were, but they were so bad that they took and went out a decade later and dug his yard up. Oh, Chicky Chick, thank you. Oh, shoot. Hey, members. Thank you, Chicky Chick, for the memberships. Mama Goose, Share Bear, Four Frogs, Devious, Queen, Lil Nikki, Miss L. How Mascara and Mistakes. Obliviana. Nice to meet you, Miss L and Obliviana. How are you? Angelique. Right, Nunya? Dude, Nunya, if that was my kid, I'd be out there. They wouldn't have to tell me nothing. I'd probably get arrested for digging. I'd probably get arrested for digging a dang hole in someone's property. Well, welcome, new members. Welcome, welcome. Thank you, Chicky. I appreciate it. So, yeah, whatever the pictures, they never said what kind of pictures they were. They didn't say, was it a selfie, or since he was trying to get her in the amateur corn, or they like the bad selfies, like whatever it was, alarmed the police so bad that a decade later, they go and dig this guy's yard up of the house that he since sold. They go dig it up.
I dropped her off there. I met the man, and he seemed to be an upstanding person, claimed to be a safe house for many people who had meth addictions, and they came to him as a safe haven. She swore up and down that he was a good guy, so I left her at his house in his care. I wish I had killed him then.
With the Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation digging literally into the so-called safe house in 2017, Richard Saunders recalled just how reluctant he'd been to leave his daughter there 6 years earlier.
When you have a 19-year-old addicted to drugs, yeah, you're afraid for her all the time because you don't know where she's going to end up.
The concerned father tried the direct approach.
There was a conversation. It was probably one of those where you should listen to your daddy. Daddy knows best. You shouldn't be doing this. You need to stay away from this type of living.
When that didn't work, he tried intimidating those around her, including the man at that house.
I told him, anything happens to my little girl, I'll come after you first. And then when I did go back looking, he wasn't there.
He's not found Kenny Richards, and neither have we yet.
According to what I was told, that house right there was Kenny's. That's where I've knocked on that door many times.
The 54-year-old has been notoriously elusive since Bethany police first questioned.
Now, did she just say 54 years old? 54? Well, okay, he was 44 at the time. This is a decade later. Never mind. But either way, what is a 44-year-old doing hanging with a 19-year-old, and she just turned 19? Trying to make her an amateur corn star and acting as her pimp. Dirty, just dirty. And then he got busted a decade later for methamphetamine, and they downloaded his phone and found some pictures that made them go dig up his yard. You've been in Newcastle? So nice. Yeah, I've been there too.
Him in 2011. He's never been arrested in connection with Karina's murder, but he has quite a rap sheet. I pulled his criminal arrest record to help us track him down. He's been in and out of prison a lot, convicted 12 times in Oklahoma, not for violent offenses, mostly drug crimes. Looking more closely, I noticed Richards had a different address on nearly every arrest report after Karina's death. A check of public records databases indicated Richards moved into the alleged safe house in the mid-90s. He moved out within a year of Karina's murder and then kept on moving.
Yeah, he moved in there in 1995. He bought the house in 2011. She was dropped off at his house, and he was questioned by the police. In 2012, he has another young girl at his house that works at a strip club here called Night Trips that actually died in his house also. And they ruled that a self-harm. And that was just the very next year. This happened in 2011. In 2012, the other young girl unalive in his house. And that's also the same time that he moved out of that house. Was when the second girl, when she died there. Sorry, I'm just trying to fill in the bits and pieces that this show doesn't have.
It certainly made us wonder, what is Kenny Richards running from?
Hello?
Mr. Richards, Lisa Monahan.
Yes.
Karina's family is suffering, and I'm hoping that you can help us help them.
We'll explore what put Kenny Richards under suspicion and why we're determined more than ever to track him down in just a moment. For now, let's dig in on his backyard, as the OSBI did in search for evidence in Karina's case.
These types of investigations are challenging.
In 2017, armed with a warrant, a team of CSI agents led by Captain Beth Green excavated portions of the property at 504 and 504.5 Oakdale.
We're not dealing with the primary scene, and we're not dealing with a fresh scene either.
Okay, so I don't know if they're going to say this in here or not. So they had a witness come forward to say that she knew him, the 44-year-old guy, and that he had told her that he buried evidence in a metal tank in the yard. He told her that he buried evidence in a metal tank in the yard. And so, and then they also, at the same time, this is right after they found these pictures in his phone a decade later. So they went to a house he doesn't even live at anymore. But they had a witness that said that he buried evidence in a metal tank in the ground. So they went back and they dug it up.
Agents were acting on a tip that was several years old. In 2013, an anonymous email claimed Kenny Richards buried Karina's clothes and missing remains in a metal tank on his property. That information was somehow overlooked by the original detectives and only later discovered by the OSBI in its review of the suspect pool.
Did you hear that? It was overlooked by police. It was overlooked by police for all these years. And only when they went back to review it did they realize that they had gotten that tip. Tell me that's not crazy.
The property at 504 and 504.5 Oakdale.
We're not dealing with the primary scene, and we're not dealing with a fresh scene either.
The agents were acting on a tip that was several years old. In 2013, an anonymous email claimed Kenny Richards buried Karina's clothes and missing remains in a metal tank on his property. That information was somehow overlooked by the original detectives and only later discovered by the OSBI in its review of the suspect pool.
You got to remember, those original detectives were those, probably one detective they had in Little Bethany Police Department that tried to handle it by themselves at first.
We were there for the dig.
When you are going to conduct a search like this, what do you know about the property going in? How do you prepare yourself for this sort of search?
We look at Google Earth images, because some Google Earth images will have oftentimes historic images, and so you can compare those and see if there's any changes to the terrain.
What could changes to the terrain indicate?
Sometimes you can see, okay, we used to have a structure here and now it's gone. Other times you can see on Google Earth disturbances in the ground.
In this case, Google Earth provided no conclusive evidence the ground had been disturbed. Certainly, there had been plenty of time for someone to dig up and possibly relocate evidence. Hopefully, the excavation would provide some answers.
Anytime we're doing any searches for clandestine graves or buried evidence or whatever, they're very methodical searches, and we use what's called ground penetrating radar. And what we're doing when we use that type of equipment is we're looking for below the surface level abnormalities.
The CSI team spent 3 days searching the backyard.
This isn't like getting out a backhoe and just digging a pool and you're just trying to get as much dirt as possible with each scoop. There's finesse to make sure that we're scraping small amounts of dirt at a time.
They never uncovered a buried septic tank as the tip suggested, but something similar was uncovered in the front yard.
I remember a big tank. I don't think it was a septic tank. It seems like it was just like a trash, maybe an old charcoaler or something like that.
Hidden inside it, a woman's shirt, a jacket, and a pair of sandals. Investigators also collected a folding knife during the excavation. They never said if they believe the items are connected to the murder.
So I think afterwards, her family came out and confirmed it wasn't her clothes. But who would have any metal bucket, like metal thing buried in their front yard that has a shirt, a jacket, a pair of sandals, and a knife in it? I mean, that in itself, well, whose stuff is this then? But
Further review of the search warrants indicate investigators had hoped to find something else. The same tip suggested a phone containing video of Karina's murder was in Richard's car in 2013, but it has never been found.
Now, that doesn't mean that there hadn't previously been evidence there that was removed.
That is always a possibility if someone thinks that they're starting to be looked at, that they could.
Absolutely. Especially when we have years going by.
At this point in time, you feel confident there's no evidence buried there?
I would say yes. We wouldn't have left the scene if we felt like there were other areas that we needed to search.
So you overturned the entire backyard?
I can't say that we overturned the entire backyard, but I feel like we did a complete search.
There are limits to what Captain Green can tell us, given that this is still an active investigation. But some people close to the case told us the search of the Oakdale house is not complete.
And I thought, they don't look like they're digging in the right spot. They have a secret underground there.
I wonder why they haven't dug under that house to see what actually is under there.
Several people have alluded to a sunken vault or hidden tunnel system.
I've heard firsthand from the people that dug it. Supposedly it started out being a well. I never saw it at the beginning until told me about it. So he said that if you guys would have been looking hard enough, that you would have either found it or found something.
Running down this lead was beyond our capabilities, but the OSBI would have the authority. Is it possible the correct area was not searched?
Based on the information that we had at the time and have at this point, I do believe that we did a thorough investigation. Obviously, if anybody has information, we want it.
They finally took the case away from that little police department, and the OSBI and the FBI started investigating it. That's when they found the tip about the other house that had been overlooked and all that. It was when the bigger police forces started taking over it, because I think they just were not able to handle it.
Give OSBI the information about a possible bunker or tunnel system.
Oh, little Nikki and her mom and dad are the sweetest too. They've been on the news so much, it's crazy. They still, they have a foundation named in her name, and they give out scholarships. They have like an organization against sex trafficking that they donate to every year. They do it. I think they do it on her birthday. They donate all the money they've saved up from that year for her foundation, and they've paid for school scholarships. They've paid for trafficking victims. They donate to a bunch of organizations, because every year they'll do different stuff. Like they just now, I think they're doing it right now too. Just like the end of last month, they started selling the little rubber bracelets, and they had her name on one side, and then they had like the sex trafficking hotline on the other side of them or whatever. And they were selling those like in all different colors for like $5. And then they take all that money and they put it into the money that they give away through her foundation. What's up with the small towns police departments? There's a pissing contest. I know, it's crazy. They really messed this one up. I don't know. And then listen, the evidence, that's why the cop got removed. The cop from the little town, he ended up getting removed because evidence came up missing. And then not only the evidence in this case come out missing, but a whole bunch of where they had done drug busts or caught people with those, and they brought them back and put them in the evidence room. They found out there's a bunch of those gone too. So they let him go and actually criminally charged him with stealing stuff out of the evidence room. And then it never went to court somehow. And then later on down the road, him and another cop both get hired back to the same police station in the same position, and they get back pay from the whole time that they were let go until they came back. It worked out really weird. I was like, what? Who does that?
System under the house, but they have not indicated if they intend to do anything with it. In the meantime, I can't help but wonder, is this the place where Karina spent her final hours? Someone is keeping a dark secret. We just need to keep pushing to shed some light on it. We need to delve into Karina's life in the weeks just before her murder. What was she doing?
She started hanging out with different people.
They were very much a bad influence on her.
Her closest friends say she'd become distant.
She didn't seem to be in a great place, but she, there's nothing I could do. I just told her, be careful.
Karina had graduated from Mustang High School a year before them and quickly went out on her own. And it didn't take long for those friends and her family to become leery of her new lifestyle.
All the stories that she would tell me about the people she was hanging around, guys and girls, just I'm like, no, that's bad. They're bad for you.
She was struggling with drug addiction and living with her new boyfriend at the Rockwell Arms.
Yeah, those apartments right there, Rockwell Arms. Rockwell Arms. Sorry, I call them the Rockwell Harms. Because, yeah, bad neighborhood again.
Arms apartments in Bethany, the apartment complex directly across from where her body was found.
I think knows something that he's not saying.
Karina's boyfriend would have been a natural suspect, except that he was in jail at the time of her murder. He'd been picked up on an outstanding warrant more than a month before her death. In July 2011, police responded to a report of a domestic dispute and found the boyfriend had been beating on Karina. He went to prison and was not released until days after Karina turned up dead.
Every time she was around, and it was all bad.
The boyfriend is one of the only people in Karina's circle who had a solid alibi, but that didn't stop police from searching his apartment. We know he and his father were questioned by police shortly after the murder.
I just don't want to be on this.
Okay. He refused to talk with us, but I'm not sure he would have provided any relevant information about Karina's final days. After all, he was locked up.
I even talked to her, please, go to rehab, consider rehab.
With the boyfriend out of the picture, Karina tried to get sober. She went to rehab August 16th, where she met a guy. She left the program early, but the two of them had made plans to battle their addictions together at his home in Kanawha.
Do you think
there is nothing in Kanawha, okay? I mean, I guess it is a good plan if you can go out there and just be in the country and you're not around like, where you know to go and get the bad things that you shouldn't be doing. So, I mean, going out to the country could work. And Kanawha is the country. But then also in the country, you may run into the most stuff being made out there too. So who knows?
her leaving rehab was a defining moment?
Oh, yeah, because she wasn't ready to get out of there and she wasn't strong enough to stay away.
Still, by all accounts, Karina seemed happy with him and on the right path. And in mid-September, she made a surprise visit home 1 week before her disappearance.
There was just an aura about her that was just really beautiful and really sweet.
That weekend, Karina spent time with her father and went to a baby shower with her high school friends.
When you saw her at the baby shower, did she seem like normal Karina from high school, or had things changed? What was she like?
She was really happy. She was still her goofy Karina self, always could make us smile and laugh.
When you look at the house now, what memories come to mind?
I feel sad. I feel sad.
She also spent the night at her mom's house in Mustang.
I just look back to that weekend because there was just something about her.
Margie didn't know it then, but September 18th would be their last day together.
I think she was on her way. I think she's on her way to coming back to us. She was really happy to be where she was. And when we went to church, she gave her life to Jesus. She raised her hand. She earned herself a place in heaven.
And a special place in Pastor Steve Cowan's heart.
It's just like there was like a spotlight on her that day. And she just, like she hung on every word, like she was searching or looking for something. And then I gave the invitation, who's really having her life changed by Jesus. She looked up and made eye contact with me. She said the prayer, and it was awesome to see that.
And I remember we just embraced in church, and I hugged her, and I didn't want to let her go, and I was crying. And it was just the most beautiful thing ever.
Grateful for their time together, Margie took Karina back to Kanawha. She drove away thinking they'd finally reached a turning point.
I remember driving away, and they were in the backyard, and she was leaning against the chain link fence, kind of looking out away from me, just looking out into the sky. And that was my last time I saw her.
Looking back now, she wonders what went wrong from that point. Did Karina know something bad was about to happen? Or was her murder a mistake?
To better understand Karina's final weeks, we started from scratch building a timeline of her movements. We found Karina took some drastic measures to stay sober. She sought salvation, even tried to physically remove herself from the temptations of the city by moving to Kanawha. It didn't work.
Grandma Kim.
She come to the house, but then after a couple of weeks, she started going back and forth to the city, using again.
Staying away from old habits proved difficult for Karina, and eventually her intended rehab partner decided it was best to part ways.
I told her to load all her stuff back up, and I begged her to go back to her mom's.
He couldn't remember when, but guessed it was within a couple weeks of her disappearance.
When she wouldn't do it, she had me take her to a trailer park in Valley Brook.
Which is like one of the worst places she could have went. Again, Valley Brook. Like all these places that she hung out, man, I can just imagine the type of people she was around. And then again, you know, she just turned 19. So there, you know, she probably doesn't even have a clue what she is dealing with, you know.
Known as a haven for strip clubs, Tiny Valley Brook is home to a
literally Valley Brook is a 2-block. It's 2 blocks long. It's one straight strip that goes for 2 blocks, and it's just known as a huge speed trap. But in that one street of 2 blocks, there's like a dozen strip clubs. That's all there is on the main strip and the sheriff's department. But they sit in there and they pull everybody over. I don't even know. It's like in the middle of town. It's the weirdest thing. It's this little 2-block section. But the police, that's how they make their money. That's how they fund their whole little, I guess it's a town they call it, Valley Brook. That's how they fund it, is pulling people over. So if you're ever in Oklahoma City and you're on Google Maps and you're going down 59th Street on the east side of I-35, yeah, go some other route, because they just pull you over for no reason. They literally fund their whole city by pulling people over.
An inordinate number of sex offenders and is rife with crime, making it a notable mark in the timeline.
Yeah, I forgot about the SOs that live over there. So there's an entire trailer park. That this guy bought, and it's just for SOs coming out of prison. And it's surrounded in chain link. It's got a bunch of trailers in there, and the offenders, the S offenders, when they get paroled, because you know it's hard for them to go live certain places because they can't be around schools, they can't be around, you know, churches and kids, and so he bought this place out there, a whole trailer park, and it's only for SOs. And it's got these big, huge signs on the front that say, no women, no children, ever.
It's not clear who Karina visited or what she did there. It is clear she didn't stay long.
Oh, do you, Lori?
I believe that there was somebody threatening her. I believe that somebody was scaring her and trying to manipulate her.
By mid-September, Karina was at her cousin Catherine Bloodworth's house.
She's always looked up to me, and I haven't lived the most solid, life.
Catherine admits she was probably not the best influence at that time.
I started working in the strip club, and then from there, I got introduced to prostitution through a boyfriend. So I was living fast. At some point, she had asked me for help and wanted to do some of the things that I was doing during that time, and of course I said no.
Instead, she offered Karina a safe place to stay, under one condition: no drugs around her kids.
I didn't know who was picking her up in the middle of the night from my home. I didn't know how she was getting back and forth. She would just come and go, come and go.
Within a week, Catherine says she found drugs in Karina's purse and made a tough decision.
This was our deal, like you wouldn't.
Sammy, I never understood. Was he just like, well, they all need a place to stay? I mean, it was kind of one of those things. I don't know. I have to Google it. I remember reading a story about it, and it was kind of like, well, they need a place to go. So I figured I would just, buy 20 trailers, make a trailer park, and then only let them live there. I have no idea why someone would fund that, but no clue.
Have anything at my house. Call someone. Call one of your friends, I'm dropping you off.
With no phone, no car, and now no place to stay, Karina turned to Facebook, posting, "What's everyone doing tonight?" It apparently worked, because that night, September 28th, Karina asked to be dropped off at the Taco Bell near I-40 in Rockwell to meet a friend.
That's when I saw it was an old man, and I was just...
Yeah, that was the friend, the one that supposedly may have been her pimp, allegedly, possibly.
It's like, who is that? She said, that's my sugar dope daddy. If you don't help me, then this guy will, type of deal. Out of anger, I just didn't help her out of anger, and I knew I was supposed to. And I knew better.
Catherine blames herself for letting Karina leave with someone who she thought clearly had bad intentions.
It was my fault. In the moment, I even knew better. And a lot of people don't say that. But in that moment, I knew what I was supposed to do and I didn't.
She says it was the last time she or anyone in the family saw Karina alive.
And I don't even know if maybe once we find out who did this and why and all that, I just still don't know if I'll still be able to forgive myself. Like, that's something I'm just going to have to live with, you know?
As painful as it is now, her encounter helped Bethany police identify the man Karina left with that night as Kenny Richards, a 44-year-old drug dealer who allegedly promised to turn Karina into an amateur porn star.
He can get aggressive and mean.
Do you think he's capable of something like this?
I think anyone in his situation would be capable of it.
And that may help explain why no one who ran in Kenny's circle was able or willing to tie him directly to Karina's murder. We'd have to go straight to the source.
Your name keeps coming up in this investigation.
Kenny Richards had dodged us for years. He's been in prison several times since Karina's murder on various drug convictions. Most recently, federal agents busted him in connection with the international drug trade. His case file revealed he had a suspicion.
That's what's crazy, Paddles, because you would think it's a huge grocery store and it's in like a mini mall. Like it had, back in those days, it had right out in front of the grocery store in the front of the lot, it had it was a tire repair shop. And then it was a big, huge grocery store, like it's Crest or Homeland it was. And then it had a bunch of other places, like the place where I tanned was in there. They had like a donut store. Like it was a big, huge place. You telling me there was no cameras outside. Crazy.
Just photo of Karina on his phone, but the exact nature of it has been kept confidential. I wrote to him several times in prison, but he never acknowledged my letters. So we decided to keep tabs on his parole and be there.
Look, I like this reporter because she was not playing, okay? She was like, well, he wouldn't answer me, and then he went to prison. So, you know, we kept tabs on his parole. So when that old prison bus rolled in, I guess it was there. Yeah. That reporter, okay? I love how she's always stayed with this case. And I swear, if it gets solved someday, it may be her that does it. And I hope it does, because this is horrible. Nobody needs people like this walking around now.
When he walked out of Jackie Brandon Correctional Center in McAllister. Corrections officials had other ideas, though, and kicked us off the property.
When you come back over here,
Persistence, however, paid.
They kicked the news reporters off the property so they couldn't talk to him when he came out. Ain't that something? Think she gave up? Nope.
Off. A couple of weeks later, he called us.
Hello.
Mr. Richards, Lisa Monahan.
Yes.
Karina's family is suffering, and I'm hoping that you can help us help them.
Kenny Richards is key to filling in gaps.
Man, this reporter was putting some pressure on him. 2 weeks after he gets out of prison, he ends up calling her, probably because he was tired of running from her. Like when that woman said that you must be the person that the other girl was running from. I think Lisa Monahan might be around Oklahoma City doing her thing, okay? Putting some pressure.
In the timeline, starting with what happened after he picked Karina up September 28th.
We weren't doing anything. She called me for a ride.
Did she ever indicate that she was in any sort of trouble?
Not at all.
Richard says he just drove Karina to the Rockwell Arms apartments, where he watched her walk between the buildings and fade into the night.
I asked her who she was going to see there, and she goes, that was none of my, she is my friend's business. That's what she told me, and I drove away.
Richards is adamant he never saw Karina after that night. And although we couldn't find evidence suggesting otherwise, we still had to ask the questions that for 10 years now, so many have been asking.
Were you pimping her out?
No, I've never pimped anyone out my whole life.
So you never made a sex tape of Karina Saunders?
No.
I also asked him outright if he killed Karina or had.
Look, why? How come a decade later when you got busted for meth, when you went to prison just now that you just got out from 2 weeks ago, how come you still had pictures of her on your phone 10 years later? I would have been asking that. I hope she asked that. I can't remember if she does or not, but I hope he asked that. Asked him that.
had some other role in the murder.
Absolutely not.
So you weren't made to clean up Karina's murder?
Hell no.
Investigators had received a tip that Richards was seen using bleach to clean up a car he had borrowed around that time.
He was driving my car, this car out here. The cops came to my house up there in Oklahoma City, and they thought that the blood that was in the back of it might have been hers. I didn't know that he was using my vehicle to do all this kind of crap.
We found the car and could see where investigators took a sample of the carpet, presumably to test. We're not privy to the results of their test, so we did our own.
Look, she did her own. She was like, oh, you still got a piece of that carpet in here. Let me go ahead and hire somebody to do our own test, since the cops ain't gonna tell us nothing.
For there to be that size of a marking, that's not someone that just like cut their hand putting something in the back of this vehicle.
And you can see the big swipes. I just thought that it was over by now. You know, it's been so long.
On site, we had presumptive positive for human blood and shipped 2 samples to a private forensic lab. Both came back negative.
Yeah.
Then there's women's clothes.
Presumptive positive for human blood. I bet you it had been too long in the sun, even though it was coming up as human blood. I bet you the sun like bleached it and killed everything. When he's older, is that looking into the future? No.
Clothing that the OSBI found buried in a metal bin on his property in 2017.
I've raised 3 girls in that house. I'm sure they're going to find the stuff they found, but just none of that stuff had to do with Karina.
If not Karina, how about Brittany Grisso, a stripper found dead at Richard's home about 5 months later?
They say she shot herself.
Do you believe she shot herself and you didn't hear it?
I normally would have heard something, I'm sure, but there's all sorts of rumors about that too.
Adding to the mystery are confidential police reports.
What kind of answer was that? I normally would have heard that. Were you deaf that night? What kind of answer was that? Someone shot themselves in your house and you usually would have heard it? What does that mean? Usually would have heard it.
Found dead at Richard's home about 5 months later.
They say she shot herself.
Do you believe she shot herself and you didn't hear it?
I normally would have heard something, I'm sure, but there's all sorts of rumors about that too.
Adding to the mystery are confidential police reports we obtained that show Richards told police he didn't see a gun at the scene, and investigators never mentioned one either. Still, Grisso's death was ruled a suicide. By all accounts, Grisso and Karina were...
Reports didn't say anything about a gun being found at the scene. How do you shoot yourself without a gun? It means he's using diversion tactics. He normally would have heard it, but was that the other? Right? What? Did they just say there's no gun? What?
Ruled a suicide. By all accounts, Grisso and Karina were...
No, tell me again.
Say she shot herself.
Do you believe she shot herself and you didn't
Shot
hear it?
herself with no
I
gun.
normally would have heard something, I'm sure, but there's all sorts of rumors about that too.
Adding to the mystery are confidential police reports we obtained that show Richards told police he didn't see a gun at the scene, and investigators never mentioned one either. Still, Grisso's death was ruled a suicide. By all accounts, Grisso and Karina were friends. More uncertain is whether they were together at any point in the final weeks of her life.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
So that's her friend, and she died the next year in his house? Who's this guy connected to? No, that's the guy that picked her up from Taco Bell when her cousin dropped her off. And it's also the guy her dad was talking about earlier, about the 44-year-old guy and how, you know, her age and being on rugs, that he didn't like him being around his daughter. But she told her dad that they were just friends and it was a safe house for her. But then later in the investigation, it came out that he was trying to get her to be an amateur corn star. And they suspect that he was human trafficking and pimping her, allegedly, in the paperwork a few places. Hey, Candy Girl.
Don't have anything to do with either one of those girls' deaths.
Back on the timeline, before Karina's death, September 30th, Karina got a message from Matthew Kyle Savage asking to hang out.
There's no way not to.
We're not sure if they ever met up, but records show they exchanged several messages in the 3 months before Karina's murder. Toward the end, Karina sent and received warnings that Savage was, quote, bad news.
Hi, guys. Hi. I'm trying to find your son.
Savage's father tried to convince him to talk to us, but he refused.
He said, no, I don't. I think he just fed up with it.
Savage was a suspect early on when it was discovered he sent threatening messages to Karina's cousin Catherine saying, I'm going to bury you next to Karina, before anyone knew Karina had been killed.
Did he tell you he's innocent?
Before she was reported missing or unalived. Before that, he texted that same cousin that dropped her off at Taco Bell to meet the man. He texted her thinking it was some boy that Karina was talking to, and the text said, I'm going to bury you next to Karina, before anyone knew she was missing and before they found her. Help. How did you do that?
Oh, yeah.
Savage told investigators he was just riled up and didn't mean what he texted. The next 6 days are tough to pinpoint. Several statements indicate Karina was running around with Judy Roberts.
He told the police he was riled up and didn't know what he was texting. Who believes that shit? You can tell the cops that and they're like, oh, okay, I understand. You're upset. You were upset and just happened to tell us that she was gone and missing and also buried or basically unalived. And they were just like, oh, okay, well, never mind. It's fine.
Savage was a suspect early on when it was discovered he sent threatening messages to Karina's cousin Catherine saying, I'm going to bury you next to Karina, before anyone knew Karina had been killed.
Did he tell you he's innocent? Oh, yeah.
Savage told investigators he was just riled up and didn't mean what he texted. The next 6 days are tough to pinpoint. Several statements indicate Karina was running around with...
Well, I'm going to have to remember that in case I get in trouble ever. I was just riled up. It worked. It worked in Bethany. What the heck?
Judy Roberts, an ex-convict she'd befriended at a casino in Newcastle 2 weeks before her death. We'll delve into Roberts and her associates shortly, but there's one other point on the timeline to discuss first. Karina was spotted on October 6th or 7th at the Studio 41 apartments at Northwest 41st in MacArthur.
Just hear, hey, Keegan, how you been? And I didn't recognize her right away, but as soon as I turned and saw that big old smile of hers, it clicked.
Keegan Zimmerman knew Karina from high school and admitted he was a little caught off guard to see her working outside of his apartment.
And we sat and chatted in the courtyard, and she just, she seemed a little guarded at the time, a little to divulge too much about her life.
But Karina did reveal she'd been staying with the apartment's handyman and son, helping around the complex to pay them back.
Did she let on that she was in any sort of trouble during the time that you guys spent together?
I don't think she was around the right people at the time, but something wasn't right.
He can't remember the handyman all these years later, but says several aspects of his last interaction with Karina have stuck with him.
I noticed that she looked skinnier than I had ever seen her. So I asked her, hey girl, when was the last time you ate? You know, and she said, I don't think it's been since breakfast yesterday. And whew.
Keegan gave her something to eat and a place to hang out for a bit. When he realized Karina was living out of a small frayed laundry bag, Keegan says he gave her a green duffel bag to store her things.
I said, hey, let's toss your stuff in this. This is a little more sturdy. You know, when you're living on the road, you gotta make sure everything's secure, you know?
Even imagine this guy who gave her the duffel bag, and then the next time that he sees her, it's on the news and she was found in a duffel bag. Can you imagine how much it probably stressed him out? But he later called the cops and found out it wasn't his bag that he had given her.
He says Karina was grateful for his generosity, and as he dropped her off at an unknown location, she seemed proud of that new duffel bag.
Have some new developments tonight.
Keegan says he didn't see Karina again. That is until she appeared on the news.
My heart seized so hard when I heard she was found in a duffel bag. I thought that could have been the one I gave her.
To Keegan's relief, it was not. The autopsy report indicated Karina's body parts were found inside a black Nike duffel bag and a small laundry bag. Her hands, feet, forearms, left breast, and clothing were missing.
I remember distinctly her remains coming into the office.
They never found any of that either.
The medical examiner found residue of duct tape around her thighs and suspicious bruises on her right cheek and right shoulder. The evidence led investigators to believe Karina may have been tortured before her death.
With this case, the body told us a lot.
The medical examiner couldn't determine if Karina was alive during the dismemberment, but it was clear the killer made attempts to conceal her identity. The autopsy revealed cut marks around a distinctive tattoo on Karina's back that indicated the perpetrator trying to remove it and cut her long hair to 3 inches. This plays into the mistaken identity theory. Was it an attempt to make Karina look like someone else? What part of it haunts you the most?
The fact that I could have been her.
We tracked down the last person to see Karina alive. She vanished from the Newcastle casino October 8th. Did someone send her into a dangerous situation to save themselves? We ask her the tough questions next.
You know how many body shops I hung out at 2 o'clock in the morning? A million of them.
This was a new little fact that I found out with this video when they did the update. Apparently, all over in the city, in Oklahoma City and Tulsa, there's like 24-hour mechanic shops that stay open. Who would have knew? I never knew you could get your car fixed all night long. Although I'm sure it's probably like shade tree mechanics. I mean, I don't know.
Because that was the place to go. If they were chopping them cars up or if they were slinging anything, then you knew where to get it.
A place to get drugs. But a decade later, we're hoping this body shop can provide something else. Information.
We're investigating Karina Saunders' murder. Do you have a spot where we can talk?
She was just 15 back then, running around with her mom in search of their next high.
I've seen things, and that's all that I needed to see.
She said she was 15 back then, running around with her mom in search of their next high. So this lady's been getting high. Her mama was getting high with her at 15. What? What? Oh my gosh.
She says she's clean now and doing legitimate work on cars, but because of her past and because she's the last person to see Karina alive, she didn't want to show her face.
I live a life of being scared every day.
What part of it haunts you the most?
That's Newcastle Casino right there. I was going to say the 24 hours, her body shop. Oh, okay. You knew one, Billy? I've never heard of that. I'm like, damn, you can get your car fixed that night?
The fact that I could have been her. With the way that my mother was dragging me around, she was dragging me into drug houses and places and people who were murderers and who were doing it for fun.
She believes her mother, Judy Roberts, a 38-time convicted felon, did the same with Karina.
38-time convicted felon. Her mom, right here. 38-time convicted felon who apparently owed some money, a bunch of rug money to someone. And then Karina ended up out at their house. And then when she went to drop Karina off, she dropped her off to the men in the red truck that she left with and was never seen again. The same red truck that there was a dark colored car full of women screaming at her not to get into. So this theory is that maybe she went and dropped Karina off there to fulfill, because I guess they wanted her to do some drug run across the country to pay back the money that she has stole from them, that she owed them. And the theory is that she sent Karina to go take the trip for her.
Dragging her into dangerous situations in the final weeks of her life. The admitted con artist and drug runner is in prison now, but was connected to multiple drug rings, seemingly willing to work anywhere she could get in on the take.
Newcastle was the spot at the time. So that's where we always were.
Newcastle was also where Roberts befriended Karina within 2 weeks of her death. They were almost inseparable, which is why investigators were interested in Roberts' whereabouts the night Karina vanished.
I honestly felt the less that I knew, the better off I was.
Roberts' daughter claims her first involvement with Karina was when her mother dropped Karina off with her at a house in Newcastle.
My mother said that she was going to go and get some more dope and left.
Hours later, Roberts' daughter says she took Karina to the Newcastle casino. She remembers dropping her off shortly after midnight on October 8th.
We pulled up into the parking lot and she got out. And when she got out, she was heading for the door and then bolted to the left down the aisle there in the parking lot. And that was the last that I'd seen her. There was a car that's sitting over there that was full of girls that were hollering, "Don't get in the truck with them." But by that point, I didn't care.
Roberts' daughter actually gave investigators a slightly different account of what happened.
Yeah, like, I don't know, just like, yeah, like collateral. Like, I heard allegedly that these people that she took the rug money from, well, she apparently got rugs fronted to her. And then what she did was she did too many of them because she used. And then they said she gambled the rest of the money away. And so they were looking to hurt her. And she didn't want them to hurt her daughter, which is the girl on here talking. And then so allegedly she took Karina over there. And maybe these guys thought that this was actually her daughter going to ride with them. And she kept her daughter safe with her because, you know, she might have knew something was going to happen. I don't know. That's just some of the theories that have went around that I've seen in stories and reported to the cops. But
telling them her mother was with them and that Judy Roberts, quote, ran right into the casino while Karina climbed into a red truck with a group of men.
See, so her mom dropped her off with her daughter, went to get more rugs, and then had the daughter take Karina over to the casino where the mom met them. And she goes into the casino, but has Karina get into this truck that the police say on the casino cameras that you can see is full of men, but they can only see one of them really good. And it's one guy that stepped out of the truck. And what they can see is that he had both arms had full sleeve tattoos.
In 2016, the OSBI released a picture of a similar looking truck.
The photograph actually depicts very clearly the pickup we're looking for.
Investigators announced surveillance cameras at the casino captured Karina getting into a red four-door Ford pickup. A photo of the actual truck and surveillance video of the alleged incident have never been released to the public. The OSBI's description of the truck's occupants was also vague.
Some of the men inside this red pickup, there were several we believe, one of them, at least one, had tattoo sleeves on both arms.
The men were never identified. They, the truck, and the witnesses in the casino parking lot remain a mystery to this day. Certainly a release of authentic images would have helped identify the truck and perhaps even the people Karina left with, if she was in fact at the casino that night. Did security cameras capture Karina in the parking lot of the casino, or is her last...
Look, they did. They got really good cameras at the casinos around here. So they had good footage of it, but the police aren't releasing it. They wouldn't even release a picture of the real truck. Why would you keep that? Why would you keep a picture of a truck that picked her up the last time she was ever seen alive and not show like a still shot of it on the news? They do that all the time. In this case, they didn't. They wouldn't release any of it. And they didn't release a picture of the dark colored car that supposedly was next to the truck either. And it was full of girls and they were screaming at her, "Don't get in the car. Do not get in there. Do not get in the car. Girl, don't go with him." Like, yeah. But they're not releasing any pictures of any of those vehicles, nothing. How's anyone supposed to identify anything? You don't release the pictures of the vehicles. It makes zero sense.
Last known whereabouts based on witness statements. We asked to review the video to verify Karina was at the casino that evening, but the OSBI denied our request because its investigative files are confidential. We'd have to rely on paper trails instead, and almost immediately.
Exactly, Sicilian. People might have been able to identify the truck, the car next to it, or the dude that got out. See, I don't know, Chickie. It could have been. It could have been because they're saying that the 44-year-old guy might have been also.
Immediately, we noticed holes in Robert's alibi. Roberts claimed she and Karina had been staying at the home of James Donaldson, known as Kitchens, in southeast Oklahoma City, up until the day Karina started hallucinating on drugs. She said it was at that point she decided to get Karina out of there to keep her safe.
Kitchen is as dangerous as they come. He was taking orders from somebody in a prison and was more than happy to kill anybody just to get a hand on them.
We were unable to reach Donaldson, aka Kitchens, but he denied any involvement when he spoke to investigators, and he told a very different story than Roberts. A week before Karina's disappearance, he said Roberts told him she owed drug dealers money and they were threatening her and her daughter. Roberts had supposedly...
See, that's the mom, the one that met the daughter that dropped Karina off at that casino. And so they were threatening her and her daughter. So the theory is with this that she made whoever these dudes in the truck are believe that Karina was her daughter.
Stolen a carload of meth. The dealer had called to discuss her...
A carload of meth. Did she just say a carload of meth? Oh my gosh.
The involvement when he spoke to investigators, and he told a very different story than Roberts. A week before Karina's disappearance, he said Roberts told him she owed drug dealers money and they were threatening her and her daughter. Roberts had supposedly stolen a carload of meth. The dealer had called to discuss her debt, and that soon after, Karina began hallucinating. Kitchen said he asked what Roberts gave Karina, and she told him not to worry about it. He said the two left his house with an unknown Mexican male. Days later, he said Roberts called...
Wow. So she stole a carload of meth, and then Karina started hallucinating, of course, because unlimited meth, if you steal a car full of it. And then he asked her what she had given Karina. She told her, don't worry about it, and drove off with the girl.
Called him crying, yelling, and was not understandable. Within a day or two, Karina's body was discovered. Under interrogation, Roberts claimed drug dealer...
We're going to listen to that again.
Very different story than Roberts. A week before Karina's disappearance, he said Roberts told him she owed drug dealers money and they were threatening her and her daughter. Roberts had supposedly stolen a carload of meth. The dealer had called to discuss her debt, and that soon after, Karina began hallucinating. Kitchen said he asked what Roberts gave Karina, and she told him not to worry about it. He said the two left his house with an unknown Mexican male. Days later, he said Roberts called him crying, yelling, and was not understandable. Within a day or two, Karina's body was discovered. Under interrogation, Roberts claimed...
Man, are you serious? They can't go get these people? Wow.
And drug dealers put a price on her head because she refused to run drugs between Oklahoma and California. She feared they killed Karina when their actual intent was to kill her daughter. Both were young women with dark hair who were often spotted with Roberts.
You can't tell me 38-time felon. You can't tell me 38-time felon didn't do that on purpose. If that's what it turns out to be in the end. You can't tell me you didn't go serve that girl up instead of letting your daughter go because you stole a carload of meth. You went and served somebody else's child up. That's what goes with this theory. Just saying.
In this photo shared to social media in 2011, Robert's daughter had what she describes as short hair.
Back then, I had black and red hair. You could tell a difference. My hair was short and cut like a bob. Spiky hair in the back and kind of longish hair in the front.
She didn't give us the specific length of her hair, but indicated Karina had long hair the last time she saw her. According to the autopsy.
Yeah, but who knows if the people she stole a carload of drugs from, if they knew what her daughter looked like.
Karina's hair was only 3 inches when her body was...
I don't know why she went, Wicked. I'm not sure why she went and got on in there. I'm thinking that if this is what happened and she went and got on in there, I'm thinking that maybe they told her she was going to make some money, you know, because they already said that she was like, you know, being sexually exploited. So maybe she just set it up for her to go on a date or something. And I don't know. I mean, she went with them willingly, even with a carload of people yelling at her not to get in. So, and the way the mom met him there, because the daughter drove Karina over there, the mom met him there in the parking lot at the same time that they see the truck. So I feel like the mom set it up. But that's just my opinion, I guess. I don't know.
Was discovered.
I think she was misplaced for somebody else.
I know.
The mistaken identity theory is common among Robert's past
That is a lot of green. Yay. Thank you. Thank you.
associates, including this informant whose identity we agreed to hide.
If I'm seen in this state by anybody, then I'm going to get killed.
And why would someone want to kill you?
Because I know too much. I have too much information. Well, I heard it from Judy herself. Judy spent a bunch of drug money at the casino, and then she couldn't get the money back, and she was getting in trouble. I think Karina just kind of walked into it, and she had no idea what she was getting into.
The informant claims Roberts convinced Karina to make the drug run in her place to pay off the debt.
She was going to go with whatever guy picked her up to go take a drug run to California and come back. And then she was going to get paid for it. That was really the beginning of her end.
It's not known where Karina went after leaving the casino October 8th, but 2 days later, October 10th, she called her friend R.C. Reed from a block number to say she was fine and hanging out with some people. When he asked who, she hung up. No one ever heard from Karina again. She was reported missing that day. Trying to figure out who she was with October 10th, we followed a lead behind prison walls. The inmate received nothing
Boy, this reporter don't play around.
in exchange for information.
She was being made as an example, but I think it had more to do with the drugs and control, much more than all of it right together.
The inmate told us drug gangs were involved in making Karina pay off a debt. He claims his relative was forced to deliver her.
That's what she was saying when she dropped her off that night, was to tell her mother that she was sorry.
The inmate stopped short of saying anything else that could help push the investigation forward. He was afraid of turning up dead, as others have. Francisco Gomez, a.k.a. Pancho, was named in a 2011 drug bust connected to Karina's death.
Do you have anything to do with the killing? I ain't got nothing to do with nothing, man. No drugs, no murder, no nothing.
Search warrants revealed Gomez had bragged about his role in the killing and claimed to have a video of it. He died in prison of a meth overdose.
If you look at the timelines, you'll see that it's just like,
Man, come on. He died in prison of a meth overdose. A way to keep shit secure there. Way to keep it secure.
why are they dying out of nowhere?
Sarah Saunders kept track of all mysterious deaths connected to her sister's case.
This is Karina's sister, Sarah. I think she's a homicide detective by now. Last that I knew, she was going through, police academy because she was going to be a homicide detective. And that was a few years ago.
Until 2015, when Karina's high school friend, Gavin Bolschweiler, disappeared while looking into her murder.
It just haunted him, and he wanted to find out who did that to her. He couldn't let it go.
Gavin's mom, Corinne, says her son refused to give up, risking his own life to find evidence in her murder.
He would go to places and knew people, and he knew bad places around Oklahoma City where things happened.
Gavin was running in those circles in the weeks before his disappearance. While she's not sure what he uncovered, Corinne believes it was enough to get him killed.
He was murdered. When they found it, they smelled him. They smelled the smell of death. And that's why they thought initially it was an animal or something. And then when they investigated, they said, oh, no, this is a person. We need to call somebody.
The medical examiner couldn't say for sure how Gavin died, but the autopsy found evidence of blunt force trauma.
He was laying this way. His scalp was probably right about here.
6 weeks before the gruesome discovery, Corinne began retracing Gavin's steps, just the same as he'd done with Karina's.
This is where his body was found. This is the door they wrote stuff on. At one time it said, nothing you say is worth losing your life over. Oh, talk to me.
So her son was Karina's friend and through middle school and high school. And he couldn't get over what happened to her. He wanted to figure it out. So he started going out into the streets all the time and asking questions and befriending, circles that were around her, trying to figure out what happened to her. And he got killed.
If I could just reach out and touch him.
As a result, Corinne fears her son's death will remain as much of a mystery as the one he'd set out to solve. Although Karina's family wants to know why she was killed, they don't want anyone else to be buried here.
I want the answers, but not at the cost of somebody else's life.
Like many investigators before us, we retraced her final days, but were unable to get definitive answers as to who killed Karina.
One day down the road, I've got to say there's an end, and I'll be happy. One day down the road, I'll find that forgiveness, but right now, I'm going to stay closed-minded until I find out the truth.
10 years after her murder, Karina's family is hopeful our efforts will breathe new life into the investigation.
I still strive to maintain that hope. When I see a butterfly, I think of Karina and God's strength. I feel like she's with me.
They still desperately want justice because justice, they believe, has the power to transform violence into peace.
I'll find out one day, whether it's here or in heaven.
I sure hope they do find out one day. I sure hope they do. So, yeah, every October, I'm like 13 years later, and they can't figure it out. I believe it was because of the little police station in the beginning. If they would have let professionals handle it in the beginning, I think it would have been okay. Because not only did they, just let people go with the lamest excuses ever, they released the name of the witnesses that said they seen the stuff happen either on a phone or in person. It had to be the police station that released those names to the newspaper. And then the evidence that came up missing while at the police station. Like, what is going on? Like, you lost the evidence too. So the evidence that they got in the very beginning, it came up missing from that little police station before OSBI took it over. I don't know, Chicky Chick. Just crazy. I hope, though, they one day give them answers. I couldn't imagine not having answers like that. And so many stories, like all the different stories. It's crazy. Oh, y'all welcome. I get tired of talking about the same things, the crazy stuff Tink is doing. Plus, every October, I always go to see if they ever if they ever solve that case, I see it sometimes throughout the years if they go back and redo it on the news or something. But always in October, because that's when they found her. It's been 13 years this month. Yeah, I don't know what those small town police were doing, Billy. It's crazy. I hope her parents get answers one day. And not only for their answers, but man, you got to get people like this off the streets. Shit, my kids are out here. What are you talking about? Yeah. Sicilian, I don't know about dirty cop involved, but the cop at the little town police station, he lost evidence. And then they did an investigation into that, and they found that he was the most culpable for losing the evidence. So then he was let go. Well, then later on, when they noticed that evidence gone, they went in and did like an inventory of the evidence. And then they came back and they like arrested him and charged him criminally for taking rugs out of the evidence room. He was taking the narcotics that they were getting on arrest. He was stealing them. So he got like 11 counts of stealing narcotics out of the police station. And they fired him, and then he got charged criminally. And then like months or a year later, somehow all the charges get dropped against him. He gets rehired back at small town police station in his same position, and he gets back pay for all the years that he was fired. So I don't know if they found out it was someone else. They never did a story on it, and it didn't bring any of the evidence back, but he seemed to get out of all the trouble, and he has his job back now. So I don't know how that worked out. I don't even know how. Yeah, not only rehired little Nicky, they gave him back pay from the time they fired him, which was like years. But it didn't bring back none of the evidence. It's not like they found it and was like, oops, sorry to blame you. No, none of it came back. Hunters found the body of a young girl here around the same age, drug history, same time frame, never caught. Who did this? Crazy. He got, oh yeah, that's right. That's right, Beezer. And that same one, he went on to retire from the police station, you guys, with a full pension. After evidence just came up missing. Yeah, he's retired now. But it doesn't matter because they don't have the case now. Now OSBI has the case. And they have this thing, like this deck of cards here. It's like a deck of cards for missing people and unsolved homicides. So each card has a story and a picture of an unsolved homicide from our state. And you remember she had the queen, I believe that it said Queen of Clubs on her tattoo or something. That's the card that they ended up putting her on. But they have a full deck of cards. And what they do is they give them out in all the prisons here in the state because they're hoping that, you know, somebody in prison knows something about any of these missing or unsolved homicides because they want to get tips. They're like cards that are trying to solve their unsolved homicides. And they give them out to the prisoners in our prison here. And they actually put her on the card that she had tattooed on her. Doesn't seem like 13 years, though, at all. That's a long time. Man, how time flies. Time flies. So did everyone have a good weekend? Let me go ahead and ask before we get up off of here. Everybody, if I could find my bank card, that'd be great. I lost my bank card about 10 days ago, y'all. Still haven't found it. And I know it's in the house because I remember the last time I picked it up and I didn't leave. Therefore, the card's in here. I just don't know where. It does, Billy. It flies by. I know, Dorothy. Luckily, there's no statute of limitations on homicide. So, you know, anything could happen, could get a break. I don't know after this much time what would be left or anything. And so many people have passed around this case. ODing in prison, getting killed on the streets. Like, did you look between the washer and the dryer? Man, listen, that's the first place I thought it was going to be because when I lose my cards, I always find them in the washer or the dryer. So I did all the laundry. Nope, no card. I've looked all around my house. It's bad. Like, I need to attach it to one of those 1970s bathroom key things, you know? Put like a half of a 2x4, like a 1 foot section of a 2x4, hook it onto my bank card. I'm just going to have to carry the damn thing everywhere. Yep, checked all my pockets. I'm telling you, I've been through this whole house. I even like deep cleaned my house looking for this bank card. And all I got to do is go get another one, you guys. But man, I lose them so often. They charge me $10 a piece now. Are y'all kidding? Merle took it. Damn it, Merle. Probably is out there just buying stuff. I do it about once a month. I'm telling you, Chicky, me too. I lose them so much. They're charging me $10 a pop now. I'm like, damn, come on. I'm paying you all the time. No, no pockets. I'm telling you guys. I don't know. I remember I picked them up off the kitchen counter. There was a receipt with them. It's my bank card and my credit card, y'all. Because why lose one when you can lose both? Why lose one when you can lose both? So it's my bank card and a credit card, and it had a receipt from when my daughter went to the store, and then I wrapped the 2 cards in the receipt, and I thought, let me go put these up. I haven't seen them since. It's been 10 days. Okay, I don't know where I went to put them. I wish I did. I really wish I did. No, I wouldn't have thrown one. No, I was intending to go put them up so that they wouldn't get lost. So I've hid them from myself is what I did. And I can't remember where. Oh, Lord. It's just one receipt, Dorothy. It's their last receipt from whatever I bought. It was with my cards when I came in. I know, $10 is a lot, Gabby. Look, they won't charge me if I'd only come in a couple times a year. This is going to be like my 4th card this year. In the freezer. Look, you guys, I do not know where it is. Dang it. So I put it in a really good place. I need to stop. I need to just start leaving it out. You guys should see my keys. I attach all kinds of keychains, a window breaker, like all kinds of crap to my keys just so they're harder to get lost. And I still lose them. Well, one thing for sure, it is, Dorothy, and I know it's wherever I put it. Damn it. Because no money is gone. I've been for 10 days. You know what I do? I just transfer money over to one of my daughter's cards and then take their card from them. That's how I've been paying everything. Hey, Angel's mama. Hey, Melinda. That's how I've been like getting gas and paying anything I need to. Like I have to Zelle money out of my account into their account and then have them leave their card with me. Which means they have to go home with no card. They have to go get cash before they leave. Too much. My pet peeve is when I lose something and ask for the last place I had it. Right. I know. It's going to be somewhere so stupid. I'm going to be mad at myself that it took me 2 weeks to find it. But I'm determined not to pay $10 more. That's a lot of money for a card. Now, the credit card, I can just call and get another one. Which will take a couple weeks to get because credit card companies are slow on sending you your card if something's wrong with it. I've had them take 5-6 days, and I've had them take 4 weeks before, depending on the card. But I haven't made a move to replace either one right now because I know they're here somewhere. Dang it. I just don't know where. In my defense, my dog was super sick and I was stressed. And I put my card somewhere. Back when Wah was sick. That's when I lost him right then. Haven't seen him since. Took me 2 weeks and they expedited it. Yeah, exactly. They take their time. I give my kids Apple Pay so they don't lose my cards. I'm about to put myself on Apple, right? I need to put, well, I don't have a damn Apple phone. Nope, I can't. I don't have an Apple phone. Everybody else in the house got an Apple phone. I'm not getting an Apple phone, y'all. You know how many phones I got to get in a year? Don't even get me started. I get as many phones as I do bank cards. I break them. I knocked one off the couch and listen, I was laying on the couch. I knocked one off the couch straight into a cup of water. I mean, if I tried to do it, I couldn't have made the damn phone into the water, okay? And it fell straight into the water. I ruined so many phones. I just buy the cheapest ones. Except for I do have a, I don't know, Samsung 20-something. But I just usually use that when I go live because the $40 phones you ain't going live on. Not happening. Not happening. My oldest son loses a lot all the time too. I'm telling you. All the time. I hid my money in books and got a lot of books. Might be a few dollars. I'm telling you. My son does too. We bought him a wallet and he can attach it. Oh yeah, that's a good idea. Those Apple AirTags. Look under your computer keyboard on the shelf with cha-cha stuff you put up or kitchen drawer. You know what? I don't think I've looked in my kitchen drawers yet. Good idea. I haven't looked in my kitchen drawers. It might be in my junk drawer. I have one junk drawer. I have a small flip phone. Don't judge me. Flip phones are the stuff. I think, you know what? I bet you I can still text faster on one of them old flip phones where you got to go 1, 2, 3 for the C, you know? And then 1 for the letter D. Oh, I bet you I can still type faster on those. And without even looking at it than I can on these ones. And I haven't used one in years, but I used to be super fast texting on them damn flip phones. My dad has a flip phones. Those are hard to figure out. I meant WAS stuff. Jeez. Oh, let me see. Look under your computer. Oh, and WAS stuff. Okay, I got you. Yeah, I'm going to go look some more, but not tonight. I mean, I'm really not that worried about it because they're here at my house. They're not lost and someone's going to go shopping. It rings. I can call out. Problem solved. Dark-eyed me too. That's why I was by, because everybody around me is like, get an iPhone. I'm like, no. Just get me the $40 phone because I'm going to tear it up in a couple months and we can get another $40 phone. See, I don't have to feel bad when I ruin a $40 phone. I'm going to be mad as hell when I ruin a $1,000 phone, okay? And even if I buy insurance, eventually they're going to get tired of me. North Carolina had a benefit concert last night with lots of bands. 82,193 in attendance. 24.5 million raised for hurricane victims. Man, whoever put that together, good job. 82,000 is huge concert. I mean, huge. Way to go. I need a bigger keyboard. Suddenly I have carny thumbs. I would break an expensive phone. Nope. Me too, Mama Goose. That's why I said I don't want it. I don't even want one. Everyone I know, everyone in my family has iPhones and have for years. Not me. Never owned one. I do own an iPad though. They're harder to lose, although I did. My Tragic Wise, my very first page. That's why I didn't get back on there because I left my whole iPad in the airport and flew out. It's like Tink was there in the hamster ball. I floated. I rolled farther than I ever have. Right. I rolled all the way out. I rolled over 882,000 people at the concert last night. That's how many people I was crowd surfing on, right? In my hamster ball, right? No. 82,000. That's huge. Okay, here we go. 1 in the chat for Leilani, 2 in the chat for Sarah Boone. If you could hear what either one of them thought after they were found guilty that day, which one would you want it to be? I see a couple to do both. See, we got 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 ones. 1, 2, 3, 4 twos. All right. I just watched to the end to see the verdict. Oh no, Dark-eyed. We're not going over court. I'm not going to go over their case or nothing. I'm clearly just going to try to get their reactions. Like after the verdict. Boone is most likely saying I should have taken the deal. Man, Melinda, all day. Hi, TT. How are you? Hope you had a good weekend. Change my vote to both. Okay. Okay, cool. Well, I'm gonna attempt to get us some new stuff to listen to. But it would be new. I mean, it would be new to everybody. It would be after the verdict thing. After. Right? Beezer, it was like literally split down the middle. I'm like, I mean, well, let's just do one and then the other. Beezer, let's just do one and the other. I think that'll work. Let's do one. If it works out good, let's do the other. Call it a day. I mean, it's going to be a short list. It was just last week when they both found out their verdicts. So, I mean, it's going to be like a, 1 week thing. I was very interested case tonight. Thank you. Oh, you're welcome, Bert. I just always think of it in October, and so it makes me check to see if maybe I missed the news and, they had got someone. So earlier this week, I thought about it. Last night, it popped back into my mind, so I went to check to see if they had caught anyone yet this year, and they hadn't. They hadn't. But I am gonna buy me a couple of those bracelets. That way, I put a little bit into the her foundation. You're welcome, Share Bear. That was from that. Whoops. Oh my gosh. Why won't this candle sit on here right? Stop. Okay, there. Dang, it was too hot for me to touch. Share Bear, you got a membership from Chicky Chick. Chicky Chick. Yes, yes. Well, I hope you guys all have a good week. I'll be back on here. Thanks for coming to join me tonight. Different subject, but definitely worth being told. I hope they do eventually arrest someone for that damn case. It just bothers me. And there's another one here that bothers me also. And really, they're the only two cases that I ever keep checking back on. But in another town, this girl and her friend, they went on a high-speed chase with the sheriff's nephew. And he burned rubber in front of some highway patrolmen and knocked rocks all over their car on them. And then he sped back into the district where his uncle was the sheriff, and his uncle called off the chase, because he recognized that it was his nephew's car that they were chasing after. He called it off. The nephew sped down some back roads and ended up crashing. And he had these two kids in the passenger seat with him. And then he took off from the crash and left them two out there in the middle of nowhere. And they were calling everybody they knew and calling 911 because one of them was injured. And then they were never heard from again. So that's the other one. We might do it sometime. But anywho, thanks for coming to join. Y'all have a good night and have a good start to your week. And I shall see y'all later. Thank you for coming. Thanks for helping, mods. I love y'all. Peace out.